Alright, everybody, it's time to thrill me! I'm Michael, and your co-host Kersey is the one sitting on the speaker thingy over there, awkwardly trying to... Hi! I didn't know where I was going with that at all.
Yeah, okay.
Shut up! I'm tired. Oh, God. So this episode, we teased you last time with The Howling and American Werewolf in London, probably the two most pivotal horror movies of 1981 that I can think of.
Yeah, and kind of the same movie.
Yeah, in a way, but different tones, though, and different way of making them. The Howling is based off the series of novels by Gary Brander, who did 3 of them. I read the first one, and I had never seen the movie. I just picked it up at the library, and I was sitting in a homeroom reading it, and someone asked me what it was, and I said, Howling. And they're like, oh, yeah, I love that movie. You've seen it? And she's like, yeah, it's the one with Michael Myers, right? And I was like, no, Howling. She goes, yeah, Howling. I was like, no, Howling. Not and I showed her the cover. She goes, oh, I thought you said Howling. I never heard of it. I was like, The Howling. There's like 5 of them. And she goes, never heard of them. I go, really? Seriously? Like, I forget that I'm a fucking dork who would pick up the video release magazine at every single, I would stare at every poster, every new release, just to see what they were. Not everybody was like me. I can imagine now, like, that seems silly for me to react that way.
Yeah, I was definitely guilty of that. I would just make references to things that nobody could ever possibly understand.
I think American Werewolf in London is the one that really, like, became the cult classic and everybody pretty much knows. The Howling has kind of disappeared. And mind you, there's 6 sequels, maybe 7. Yeah, actually, I think there's 7 sequels, and there's only 1 sequel to American Werewolf in London, so it's kind of strange.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a diminishing returns effect kind of just left The Howling into lead people to just forget about it.
Yeah, it's a strange series, and we're going to have fun exploring all of it, because they derail immediately. I think the first one is a bona fide classic. It's one of my top 5 horror movies. I watch it every single year, and I'm going to get some haters here, but I kind of like it better than American Werewolf in London. I know, I'm ducking.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna have some words.
All right. So for me, it's the fact that I do not find American Werewolf in London scary. It's
not really supposed to be.
I guess, but the atmosphere, the style, the really dark sense of humor, the way the werewolf is designed, I prefer the way that they did it in Howling instead of the giant werebear that's in.
Yeah, I can get that.
Yeah. And there's just certain elements. I like how tight it is. It's a very low budget. I think it was like $1.2 million. And Joe Dante looks like he's just having a ball making this. And I can't argue that with John Landis either. And the special effects are better than The Howling. I think that it's a more expansive view. Something about the British part just leaves me cold. I don't know what it is. That's about it. And the fact that
that's just British people in general, though.
Yes, but also I do like The Howling. To me is truly scary. I think the transformation isn't as impressive, but it's actually scary instead of horrifying, and there's a slight difference.
I disagree a little bit, but I do think they were going for a much more serious tone, and the transformation is really good. I don't know, should we actually talk about the movie before we just get into?
Yeah, we should. Yeah, go ahead. The Howling is different than the novel a little bit, because in the novel she is sexually assaulted in that porno shop, whereas this one she's just being intimidated and then he's shot. So that's one major difference, because in the book it is truly vulgar. It is very grindhouse explicit, and that always kind of turned me off. And then she goes off to this little, like, Big Sur, middle of nowhere little town, which is kind of a therapy place mixed with kind of new agey stuff.
If you've ever seen Antichrist, it's kind of similar to that.
No, I have not actually seen that.
Oh, well, it's kind of the same, where like a tragedy that befalls a woman. Her husband takes her to the woods and kind of like as like a way of therapy.
Oh, okay. And along the way, there's some weirdos, there's some temptation, and eventually the werewolves make their presence known and decide to take down whoever isn't one of them. Something about the village feel of it, too, which is weird, because if you watch The Howling 2, that's about the only element, is that there's some kind of weirdo, like, all these people in this little town are strange, and that's the only appealing part for me is the second one. The second one's full-on camp ridiculousness.
That one is the one with Christopher Lee, right?
Right. who apologized to Joe Dante when they made Gremlins 2. He goes, "I'm sorry, I screwed up the sequel."
It wasn't his fault, okay?
Hey, it's a job. He's an actor. You just do what you do.
Yeah.
So Rick Baker was originally set up to do the special effects on this, and he did some initial groundwork with the design, but he handed over to his protege, Rob Bottin, and then went over to American Werewolf in London. It's so amazing to think that The Howling is Rob Bottin's first movie where he's in charge, and then a year later he's doing The Thing.
Yeah, I just have to say it's weird that in 1981 there's 2 werewolf movies, and both of them involved a porno theater. I don't know. It was just a weird thing.
Yeah, actually there's 3. No one ever talks about the third one. It's with Albert Finney and Gregory Hines. It's called Wolfen, and this one's more about Native Americans taking back against some land that was taken away from them in New York. It's more of a cop thriller, and there's hardly any transformation. Actually, I don't think there's any transformation. They're literally just wolves. I thought it was really boring.
Yeah, that's why we're not talking about it here.
Right. I still to this day quote, "Come on, Bright Boy, bring it to me." Robert Picardo, if you look at him, you do not expect him to play Eddie Quist, because do you know who Robert Picardo is?
He's the guy from the porno theater, right?
Right. But in real life, like other movies, have you seen him in?
He looks familiar, but I can't put my finger on it.
He's like Joe Dante's go-to guy. So he's in Gremlins 2, he's in Matinee, Explorers, he was a regular on Deep Space Nine forever as like a hologram, I think. Just a very congenial, nice little bald guy. But in this, he's truly sinister. And the other guy, there's the brother of like the really hot werewolf, the one who seduces her husband. Mm-hmm. There's something really slimy and gross about him too.
I don't even remember that.
I think the way he cast it was really good, because you got people you don't think are going to be heroes or turn to werewolves, and then he just really cast a few characters to be truly sinister, and I really love it. I love this movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to like about it. I think that I think its concept is better than its execution, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, so low budget though. It was 1.2. Yeah. It's hard to get that across. I mean, they use the animation in the fire scene instead of actually transforming them.
Yeah.
So they had
which I think was better, honestly. Like, I think that there's pretty much just like one transformation scene, and it's done really well.
Yeah.
And you kind of like, after we've already seen it once, you don't really need to see it again. So I think just like kind of having them projected in the background just is a much better idea.
The one thing that I don't think gets right between the book, the fact that they had to take out the sexual assault also negates a little bit of her trauma, because what she goes through is pretty scary in the movie. But in the book, that's why she's so disconnected. So when Dee Wallace is playing this character, she seems like kind of a nothing, but like a blank. But if you read the book, you really know that she is completely PTSD, broken human being, and her disconnect emotionally, and the fact that she can barely stand up for herself makes a lot more sense in the book.
Mm-hmm. I have to say that is it her boyfriend or husband? I forgot.
I believe it's her husband.
Okay. He was in Prince of Darkness, right?
No.
Really? He looks exactly like
I know. It's the mustaches of the 80s. They all look alike. No, the guy who starred in Prince of Darkness was the star of the TV show Simon and Simon. Parker, not Parker Stevenson, Jameson Parker. That's it, Jameson Parker.
Was Prince of Darkness 87?
Yes.
Or was it in the 90s?
Yeah, I can't wait to do that one.
I'm very excited. Okay, sorry about that.
Do you how do you like your werewolves? Do you like them in this way, like the dog soldiers, full, like huge, muscular beast, or do you like them more animalistic?
I can go either way. I don't really have a preference on werewolves.
My preference is this way, but I highly suggest this one, but I know everybody else is going to go with American Werewolf in London. It's a fantastic movie. It's just something slightly missing for me. Now, do you want to talk about this one since I talked about The Howling?
I'm not finished with The Howling.
Oh, okay, sorry.
A couple things. I'd say that, I found myself kind of being a little bit bored in the middle of the movie. I know it's kind of like building atmosphere, but I feel like it was kind of it kind of focused on the wrong details, or it just didn't flesh out enough. So for me, I think that the husband transforming into a werewolf, like his transition from who he is to being the werewolf is too fast.
It is too fast.
Like,
Because of the budget, they cut out so much of the book. There's a big, long sequence where he's hunting a werewolf out in the woods, or what he believes just to be a wolf. And it's really tense. And she's screaming for him to come back into the house, and he just won't listen because he's being stubborn. There's a lot of stuff, and like there's a slow transformation from him being the loving husband to the monster.
Yeah.
I would like to remake this movie with a better budget and more time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They did remake this though, because we're going to skip one of the Howling movies. One of them is Howling 4 is called The Original Nightmare, and it's the same exact script to the T. Except just there's like a nun in there somewhere that's haunting her. It's such a stupid thing, but I guess in order to keep the rights, the original guy Gary Brandner had to redo it or something. I don't know.
I also thought it was weird. What was with the nuns going into an occult shop where the guy was just telling them about werewolves?
Oh yeah, the silver bullet. I don't know what that was about.
That was a kind of a weird scene, and that guy kind of didn't need to be in the movie.
No, but I love him. That's Dick Miller, who passed away last year.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
But,
It's very matter of fact explained. So what are these for your kids?
Also, who were those two people? Not the nuns, but the other two people that were.
Oh, they work at the news station with her. So she's a reporter, and that's why she was at the porno shop in the first place, because the serial killer had contacted her to meet him, for our interview. And so those are two people that work with her at the news station, and that's why they eventually started doing the research on how to stop a werewolf, how to get to their friend. And boy, the lady, I can't remember her name all of a sudden, but she meets a gruesome end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was kind of confused like when they just kind of showed up and just started taking control of the movie all of a sudden. It's just kind of like, all right, well, we were kind of focused on, this woman and her husband kind of going mad, and then all of a sudden it just like shifts focus over to these guys. They're like our new main characters.
Yeah, another thing just compressed because of the book. There was always a good B story that was more investigative while they were dealing with the emotional trauma in the little town. And oddly enough, that guy, Dennis Dugan... Oh, it's Belinda Blasky, I just remembered, is the lady. Dennis Dugan is the guy who comes to help her. He's the one with the rifle. He is one of the biggest directors of comedies throughout the 90s and 2000s. He directed Waterboy. Dennis Dugan directed a ton of Adam Sandler stuff.
Yeah, so overall, it's got a good structure, and there's a lot of great things about it. I can definitely tell that the budget was constraining what could have been like a really, really tight, good movie. That probably would have been more like 2.5 hours.
The end is where you can really see it, because he said he only had like 3 costumes, and most of them were just, there was no full body costume. It was just like the torso, the head, and the hands. And they had to constantly share and move those around. I mean, literally when there's the fire and burning down the barn, their hands are just in the puppet head moving it around trying to, that's it. There's nobody inside of it.
Yeah.
They tried, I think, more animated stuff. You only see it for a split second. There's supposed to be some stop motion stuff that got thrown away.
Yeah. Good detail that I really liked was the old man in the village.
Oh,
who,
yeah.
wanted to kill himself.
Right, because he couldn't stand the guilt and the fact that he just wasn't going to die like the way the rest of them were.
Yeah, I fucking love that scene. That was so good. And I kind of wish he was in the movie a little bit more, because I kind of wanted a little more resolution to his story.
Yeah, that was David Carradine's dad, John Carradine.
Yeah, but yeah, that scene was so good. Like when that scene was happening, I was like immediately like, okay, I gotta pay attention to what's happening here.
Yeah, what's interesting is do they actually say that they age slower, or what it is that he's? I mean, is it just plain guilt? I feel like they don't fully explain it. That it's ambiguous.
That's the thing, because I was kind of confused by the end, because like at the end of the movie, he was hanging out with them, but didn't like stand up for anybody. I thought like this would be the moment that he would like try to get himself killed by these people or something, but he didn't.
Oh,
so
and the doctor does though. Patrick McNee, he's like, oh, thank God it's over.
Yeah, I love that part.
Yeah, it's a really interesting movie. I think it's more emotionally difficult than American Werewolf in London, but God, it does suffer from a tight budget. Now, that was $1.2 million. I believe it was $10 to $15 million for American Werewolf in London, and you see everything.
Yeah.
For me, The only sequence that's terrifying is actually the very beginning when they're going through the moors. That actually scared the shit out of me as a kid.
Yeah, the same for me. Like it's weird. American Werewolf in London is one of those movies that if you haven't seen it in a while and you think back on it, you're like, oh yeah, that movie's kind of creepy. But then when you watch it, you're like, oh, this is actually like a pretty good comedy. This is basically just a dark comedy.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't take itself seriously. Even like the transformation scene, which is supposed to be like gruesome and horrifying, the thing that everyone remembers, there's like this really stupid song playing while it's happening. Like it really doesn't. It doesn't take itself as seriously as the Howling does.
Right. There's so many elements in this that are comedic, but John Landis is a guy who's known more for comedy, whereas Joe Dante's bounced in and out of horror and comedy. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't derail it. That's the one few things. I think this is one of the very first horror comedies to be successful because it was either full on parody or would just have a light tone of like campy humor. This one, it was like, look, it's both. It's a horror movie and a comedy, and it can work. And then for like the next decade, you can see that influence in horror movies. Yeah,
definitely. I think that his you're right. The opening is definitely like just straight horror. There's really nothing funny about what's happening, and like they're sort of they're marching through the moors trying to get into the next town or try to find a place to rest after basically being shooed away by the people in the pub. And it's kind of a similar story where they also have guilt about what they're doing because they, werewolf needs to feed and shit, and it's going to feed on them. It's like, well, might as well have, these other people that are just coming into town. And you can hear the creature howling. They're like, I don't hear anything. Like they're trying to convince themselves that what they're doing is right.
That is a truly terrifying howl. Not seeing it and hearing it or only seeing a small glimpse of it is what works best for the monster.
Yeah. So a really good build-up and like them just trying to like stay calm and just sing really loudly, but it's like their voices are kind of breaking because they're scared, was really effective and is actually creepy because it's like something that I would probably do. So yeah, really good build-up that's genuinely horrifying, and then the rest of the movie is more silly fun.
Right. There is one sequence, though, when he's having the nightmare in the hospital where you don't know what the fuck is going on. It's funny thing is, the first part of it is a mystery because you don't know why these guys are kicking him out. You don't know what's going on out in the moors. And then you don't know what is real and what isn't real in his dreams. And, he has the nightmare of, chasing after the deer. Then he has the nightmare of those Nazi werewolves coming to his house and killing his family.
Awesome.
Yeah, that builds to a mystery, and then it turns to a romance. It tries to be everything, and somehow it still works. It has a romance, and I gotta tell you, when I was like 14 years old and I saw the sex scene, I was like, oh my god, this is what can be in horror movies? I just thought it was supposed to be purely scary. But then, of course, it all changes when the final evolution, whatever, he turns into the werewolf under bright light from every angle. And it looks truly amazing. I mean, now as an adult, now that I know special effects, I know how they did most of it. But it's still truly astounding. In 1981, it must have blown everybody's mind.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The scene, the part of the transformation that, like, kind of fucks with me, because I have, like body horror for me is, like, something that really affects me. That's why I love Cronenberg so much. But, like, the scene where he, like, rolls over on his back and his legs are just starting to sprout, and he's just, like, in that really compromised position where like his legs are all fucked up. I don't know, like that part. Like,
really well, because at first you're just seeing bits and pieces, but you see all of him, and he's laying and he's reaching for you. It's almost as if he's begging you for help, and he's got that look on his face where he can't communicate. That's like being in a prison.
Yeah. And he's also haunted by his friend who was killed by the werewolf, and it is grotesque the amount of detail on like his sliced throat and his like skin is falling off of his face. And yet he's like the comedic relief of the movie. It's this weird dichotomy where he's on screen and he's funny, but you're also disgusted by what you're doing. And it only gets worse.
I will say this, I think he does a good job. I said the beginning was a scary part, but I do think the subway part was pretty terrifying. The way they filmed that, and it's just this slow, like, what the fuck is following me? What is that? And then you don't really see, and you see from overhead as he falls down right before he gets...
the top of the stairs, like, it's like a voyeuristic shot. Like, you're about to go down the stairs, you see what's happening, just, like, slowly back out. It was, yeah, that was really good.
There is some weirdo humor when they're in the porn theater, and so the porn movie is fucking hilarious. So like, you're not my wife. Dude. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it was so good. Like, what the fuck you think you're doing, mate? And it's like, what? I don't even know you. And it's like, no, you have. It's like, I don't know who you are either. It's like, oh, sorry. And then just leaves, and then it just continues on like nothing happened.
Yeah, and then we just bounce right back to the audience where they're all the ghosts of the people he's killed are telling him like, yeah, shoot your face off. It's just really cheering him
put the gun to your face, or no, put it in your mouth. It's better. And it's like, oh, split your wrist. Like they're just like trying to like having a cheery conversation about how he should kill himself.
Yeah,
as the porno was playing. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, it's when he fully turns though. I was like, oh, that's not what I expected at all. Like it just looks like a giant. The facial features are fine, but it's the werebear that just throws me off. I'm like, it's short and fat. Okay.
Yeah, not the most impressive full body wolf out there. I think you can make a case that the Howling's wolf it's definitely the creepier of the two. It's also funny that both movies have like a person whose face is all like fucked up and falling off their body.
Well, also they end the same way too. They have the hero at the end in desperation after they've changed, and one shot and the movie's done.
Yep.
Well, sort of. Howling ends with this weirdly disturbing humor. Well, not disturbing, but it's a black humor where she gets shot on TV and everybody thinks it's fake, which is weird considering what life is like now. But then it just has that hamburger on the grill forever.
Yeah.
What do you have? I like my burger rare.
Like she wanted a rare, and it's like, dude, you're holding on to it way too long. Get it off the grill.
Yeah.
It's like the cook in me was just like, what are you doing? Hold on, wait.
That's not rare. Stop it.
Yeah.
But American Werewolf London ends instantly. Shot, and she cries, and that's it.
Yep. Monster's dead. Movie over. Get out of there.
Oh boy, and thank God they weren't damaged. Well, American Werewolf London was not damaged by its sequel, which I think is okay. It's not great by any means, but there's some interesting elements. But man, the Howling's going to get fucking weird.
Which sometimes is better.
Yeah, it is. There's some sequels I think are great. 4 and 5, or 5 and 6 are pretty good.
I was just gonna. I think we mentioned the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2 more than almost any other movie on our podcast. But yeah, like, going into that direction sometimes is for the better. And
I can't wait to talk about Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 when Viggo Mortensen his coming out show is a crazy killer.
Wait, Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 3, was that the one with McConaughey?
No, that's Part 4. That's the Next Generation.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, we're not going to redo any of the movies we've done. Like, we're not going to discuss Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, but just understand that the episode is out there. It's under Trash Cinema. Trash Cinema, kids.
I would totally talk about that movie again.
I might. I'm tempted because it was so fucking good. I can't. For years, we would run around just going, incoming mail! Actually, for years, I still do this. Whenever the mail shows up at work, I still say it.
I bet nobody gets that reference.
Dog will hunt! I say that too. Alright, so that is it for this episode. Next one, I forgot to make a list. Shit, I'm going to have to leave you guys hanging. Sorry. Seriously, 81 has like so many horror movies. I'm still kind of going through them on YouTube and other free services to see which ones are worthy. Because I don't want to give you some garbage.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, check us out on Facebook under Video Night. We are the spinoff from that. And Kersey, thank you for this episode.
Hey, thank you. This one was good.
Done. If I could do a howling sound right now, I would, but I can't.
Yeah, I can't do that.
I'll blow my lungs. Everybody, welcome to another episode of Comics on Infinite Earths. I'm sick. Hey, as you can tell by the voice, I should talk like a fancy British man. Why, hello, Jacob. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well, old chap. It is a shame about your laryngitis-infested throat.
Yes,
I do pray that it gets better.
I've decided I'm going to just talk like this the entire time.
Where am I?
I don't know.
Jabba's palace.
I don't know why I know that voice, but it's what I'm going to stay with.
No, everybody, I am sick, but I want to keep episodes going, plus I'm bored. I'm trapped in the house, sick. That's not true. I lied. I forgot. This morning I went off to eat at a Hungarian restaurant, which I've never been to one before. That is some decadent, heavy food, but it's really tasty.
Good to know. I have to try it. What do they serve? What kind of weird dishes do they have?
Well, it's a lot like German food. I had a chicken schnitzel and then some apple strudel, and Mom misread the menu. Yeah, she ended up getting something that was completely disgusting and probably bad for her system. Yeah, so she somehow missed it was fried bread. She thought it was just like some special German thick spiced bread or something.
But it wasn't, was it?
Yeah, and when every once in a while we'll go to an antique mall. She loves those. I don't so much, but this one has some cool comic books back in the corner. It's one of those snooty, boring places where I just kind of wander around while she shops. And so I scored some old stuff, some old 80s and maybe a couple 70s in here for $1 a piece. Scored, I've never read it before, but the covers were absolutely beautiful. I don't know who painted them because there's no name on it. It's mind-boggling how good these are. It's the Tarzan of the Apes miniseries from Marvel, 1984.
Oh, wow.
It's only a 2-issue miniseries. I think it just tells, from the book by Edgar Rice Burroughs. Astonishing covers.
Oh, awesome.
This is the one that I didn't know about of all the comics I grabbed. I grabbed something called Total Eclipse from something called Eclipse Books. It looks like it's just like an Avengers kind of superhero team book. It's from Marv Wolfman, one of the co-creators of the new Teen Wolf.
Oh.
I
Marv
grabbed Justice League. What's that?
I said Marv Wolfman, Teen Wolf.
No.
Very clever.
Justice League Quarterly, which is kind of like an annual, has the two heroes that you and I connect to most, Blue Beetle and Booster Gold, and plus the old school gang.
Yes, awesome, very nice. Guy Gardner and
yeah, it's got Manhunter, Fire and Ice, Batman, and then a bunch of heroes called the Conglomerate, which I don't know who the hell they are.
The Conglomerate doesn't sound very hero-y. It sounds more like villain. They become villains, don't they?
Maybe.
Then there's internal conflict, and then everybody dies, and then everything gets reset, and everybody dies again.
No.
And next thing you know, Wonder Woman has a baby with Superman.
What?
Yeah, that actually does happen in Kingdom Come.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. This one is more obscure. I remember hearing a little bit about it. Carmine Infantino, one of the greatest comic book artists of the 60s. In the 70s, he created something for Marvel called The Human Fly. I grabbed issue 2. It's beat the hell up, but I got it for $1. It's The Human Fly and Ghost Rider. Just some adventure they go on.
Oh, wow.
The Shogun Warriors. It was also a series from Marvel in the late 70s. I think it's based on a Japanese property, which, I haven't seen. This thing is horribly beat up and stained and whatever, but I just want a cheap read, so I'm good with that.
Very nice.
I picked up the final issue of ROM. A lot of people don't remember ROM. It was a toy from Remco that was a really shitty toy, but for some reason, the guy who wrote the comic book created this mythology that everybody connected to, and the comic book went on for like a decade. And it's amazing since the toy was a flop.
Oh, wow. I'll have to look it up when I get the chance. Yeah. It's at ROM.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I have about 3 or 4 issues. It got revived because Dynamite Press, I believe, or maybe Boom, bought the rights, and they've been doing the comic book again.
Oh, wow.
What year is this one? I can't tell what year this is. It's mid-70s because Evil Knievel's on the back. It's called Cobra. Cobra is from DC Comics. He was a villain. For some reason, he got his own series, which is bizarre.
As far as Cobra goes, would he eventually turn into Copperhead, or would he? Does he exist within his own universe?
No, I believe Cobra is still a villain of like the teenage, not for the Teen Titans or the Justice League. I'm not sure.
It does sound familiar. I think I heard of Cobra.
Yeah.
On the Teen Titans animated series, not Teen Titans Go, the cool one.
Yeah.
The one before that.
I hate Teen Titans Go. Amethyst, Princess of Gem World. It's the very first issue. I scored that for $1. It's from DC Comics. Apparently, this had a cult following. I only barely heard about it because my friend Ken Reed was talking about it. So I grabbed the first issue. I wanted to check it out. It's from Paris Collins, who did the artwork for the Blue Beetle comic we liked.
Oh, good.
Man, I picked up a lot of comics, I just realized. Howard the Duck. issue 22, where him and Man-Thing team up to go into this world that's a parody of like Conan the Barbarian and Star Wars. It looked like it was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, no. Well, Howard the Duck. Of course, something's going to go down. Pretty much. It's never a good time with Howard.
Yeah. All right. So those are what. What?
I said unless. No. I can't think of a time. No, I can't even think of a time where Howard could actually just kick back and relax. Unless it was at the end of his movie.
I've only ever seen the movie. I've never read the comic book. But then the last chunk I got here is Ghost from Dark Horse Comics. It was when they started to introduce a superhero line, so it's the very first issue of that, and that went on for years. I just never got around to reading it. Okay, so I got this thing. Someone was just telling me that the whole Hasbro world has been combined into one universe, like the way they plan to do with the movies. And the very first issue was free. So it's ROM, it's Transformers, Mass, Micronauts, and wait, hold on, let me get it in a row. G.I. Joe, Mask, ROM, Micronauts, and Transformers, all in this one big universe.
Right. Okay, and do you think they're going to adapt that into the... Well...
They need to get Michael Bay away from Transformers. Get him very far away. Like, get a restraining order if you have to. They need to...
Pretty much, yeah, at this point.
And I also got Marvel Premiere, which was a series during the 70s and early 80s where they would introduce new characters. That's where we discovered Star-Lord and characters like that. But this one's called Monarch Star Stalker. Clearly, this is after the Star Wars phenomenon, where all of a sudden everything became like sword and sorcery and space. So I was really interested in this because this looks pure like space fantasy.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah, those are hard to get though. I don't understand why Marvel's never collected the Marvel Premiere series up because they went on for like 70 issues. Some of them were movie specials, which is fine. I'll read the adaptation of Crawl or trying to think of another one at that time. Maybe Condor Man, Tron, so like that. Octopussy. I think they did some James Bond ones.
Oh gosh, no, Condor Man. Oh wait, didn't they? Yeah, wait a minute. I think they made a few animated movies.
No, there was a Disney movie. I think in 1981. It was a flop. It was when Disney was really struggling, and it's just one movie.
Oh, okay. But as far as some of their animated movies, there was this. It was I think they were on demand. I think we had Comcast at the time. There was the Condor. There was it's about this kid with a high tech skateboard.
Really?
Yeah, Wilmer Valderrama was the star in it, and then there was one with Anna Paquin.
Huh.
I can't remember, but they were like short, 1 hour, 20-minute animated movies. I just can't remember for the life of me what that one was called with Anna Paquin.
I'll have to look that up.
It was like I'm thinking like that's what the knowing what the Marvel Premiere issues that you just mentioned, I'm thinking that's what they were based off of.
No, probably not, but I'll look that up. And the last issue I got was New Teen Titans issue 27. I love the Teen Titans, but I also got it because it had a 16-page comic preview of something called Atari Force, which was a very short-lived DC series. It has a cult following, just never made it to a trade until just recently. They're going to be putting out some of the issues for like $10, so I figured I'd check it out.
Oh, good. I mean, the Atari Force now, would this be like Centipede and Galaga?
God, how have
all these other Atari games joined forces?
I'm shocked that nobody has ever licensed the rights for a Pac-Man comic or a Centipede or a Donkey. Well, Donkey Kong Nintendo's pretty strict with that, but how is it all these old school characters never got adapted? And now we're so far past Atari. I don't really think there's much nostalgia for Atari like the way it was 20 years ago. Even Nintendo, the phenomenon of that nostalgia is starting to wear off, and now we've moved on to Super Nintendo. We're really on the cusp now where people are starting to buy up GameCubes at these resale shops because of nostalgia for that. And I was like, it's too new for nostalgia,
Wow.
But I forgot the GameCube is 17 years old now?
Yeah, my gosh, I think it was like my very first one of my very first next gen systems, like after the N64 and PlayStation 1 and Dreamcast.
Yeah.
Then then the console wars started happening. The PlayStation 2, the Xbox, the original Xbox, and then finally GameCube. GameCube did have a lot of fun though. I mean, Star Fox Adventures, Star Fox Assault, Super Smash Bros. Melee. Let's see. Oh yeah, Luigi's Mansion was a surprise. My God.
Yeah, I'm looking up this Atari Force right now. It was 5 issues. They were included in with video games. There was Defender, Berserk, Star Raiders, Phoenix, and Galaxian. Written by Gary Conway and Roy Thomas. Really good artists on here. Gil Kane, Dick Giordano, Mike DiCarlo.
Sorry, I'm having trouble talking. And then it continued later, from 84 to 85. It lasted 20 issues, so I guess it did have some sort of cult following. Says July 2015, Diamond Entertainment announced they would reprint the comic series. A new series based on the Atari properties. Okay, so I've been out of a loop. They're going to make new comics. I don't know if they actually did it or not. I'll have to look. Of Asteroids, Centipede, Crystal Castles, Missile Command, Tempest, and Yar's Revenge. Okay, those are some serious old school comics right there.
God, yes, I know. I'm like, that's way back from before I thought was possible.
Yeah. All right, so here is the meat of the episode. That was just kind of a warm-up, kind of a teaser, an appetizer.
Yes.
Jacob, what are we discussing on this episode?
Okay, we are discussing, well, two have been my favorites. They're definitely in my top favorites for these particular characters. And then this one, the third one that we're discussing is definitely become a what's the right word I'm looking for? Rediscovered favorite. Yeah. So the first one we'll be talking about Batman Year One by Frank Miller, and then we're going to be discussing Flashpoint, which was written by Jeff Johns, and then we'll be discussing Long Shot.
All right, so Batman Year One. Now, a lot of it's been covered in Batman Begins, but it is important to note that the comic series from the 80s is really part of that Batman history overhaul. It's the post-crisis, let's retell everybody's origin, where they restarted the Flash with Wally West.
Yeah.
They restarted Wonder Woman, where they focused more on her Greek mythology. Superman, got rebooted. I can't remember the guy who fucking redid it. John Byrne. And then Batman, they didn't really overhaul. They didn't start from number one, but what they did was go back and just retell his origin in a new way. And this is kind of what everybody knows about the character, is that version by Frank Miller. I haven't read Batman Year 2, but I'm itching to read it now because the first one was fantastic. And the animated film, which I just watched last night, really sticks close to the comic.
Oh my God, yes, I know. And not only that, the voice acting too. You had, Ben McKenzie, who plays Commissioner Gordon in Gotham. He's the voice of Bruce Wayne and Batman. And then you also have Bryan Cranston of Breaking Bad and many other fine films. And he's the voice of young Gordon. Just starting out in Gotham City, transferring, learning the ropes, and trying to clean out the apartment from within. But he can't do it without help. And that's where Batman comes in. They decide to, at first, it's a little rocky. Gordon's just like, no, you're a vigilante. Fuck you. I have to take you in at first. But then he realizes, how, what good he's actually doing, and then he's actually the only law he's abiding by is not to kill.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting also that whenever they open fire, which I always think is out of character, like cops just don't open fire for no reason because bullets are just could hit anybody, and they do that in Batman Year One where they just open fire. And I remember have you ever seen the movie Frighteners, the one with Michael J. Fox?
Yes.
They come out of the museum and they're spinning around, so they're really dizzy, and they just grab their guns and start opening fire. And I was just like, that's fucking stupid. No cop would do that. And they're always doing that in comics and movies. It's just randomly just opening fire for no reason.
No, it had to be controlled. That was the problem.
They weren't even sure that Batman was a villain. They were just like, oh, he's in dark costume, let's just shoot him for no reason. I was like, how do you even know he's a bad guy? What are you doing?
I know, it's like he did. I mean, even in the movie, Gordon pointed out he did deliver, Carmine Falcone, who was like the biggest crime boss in Gotham. He had everything, every legal piece of evidence against him, and he set that up to nail the guy. And yet, even then, no, the Commissioner Loeb, who, in the comic books, he's definitely corrupt. Commissioner Loeb's like, I don't want that asshole, going about. No vigilantism in my town. Plus, Batman could have some kind of dirt on Loeb too, because shit. I mean, we all know what happens later. Gordon eventually becomes commissioner.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, again, what also really drew me to this, not only was it Frank Miller, who was behind it, but also the artwork was just absolutely fantastic. It had some of that, the way the color scheme is, and some of the character design. It had some of that 40s early Bill Finger, Bob Kane nostalgia.
Yeah, I have struggles with Frank Miller. You and I discussed it last year with our Dark Knight Returns. Some of the stuff's great. Some of the stuff is complete shit. He's really inconsistent at times. I mean, you and I agree that RoboCop 3 was a fuck up. And RoboCop 2, you love RoboCop 2, but I feel like there's a dark turn in there that doesn't work for the series. It drops the fun satire. It's not a bad movie. I've warmed up to it a little bit, but it's nowhere nearly as good as the first one. And I think a lot of it is because he's kind of a cynical writer.
Oh, definitely. My gosh, yeah, no. As far as the humor goes, for like if you were to see his work on Dark Knight Returns or anything like that, there's like little to no humor.
Yeah. Well, and the sequels were terrible.
Oh yeah, no. The second one I heard was just god awful.
Yeah,
like
pretty bad.
People hated it. The third one, Master Race, I don't know. That's actually gotten some pretty good reviews.
I feel like I read it, but you know what? Now that I think about it, I kind of have amnesia to it. He changed his artwork too, because I think I'm looking. I've been reading Marvel 2-in-1, which is way before your time. Is almost before my time. The Thing was a phenomenon. Fantastic Four were popular, but the Thing was everybody's favorite character. So they spun him off into a comic called Marvel 2-in-1, where every single issue he would team up with a new hero. But it was always focused around the Thing. So 1 week it'd be Ghost Rider, it'd be Doctor Strange, and a lot of these heroes were only popular at that time. But Frank Miller does an issue in here, and his artwork is so wildly different than it is by the time he gets to Batman Dark Knight Returns.
Right. But for sure, I also have to give credit. You have to give credit, if anything, to Dave Mazzucchelli. I think that's why it was consistent, why it was just so polished and well done.
Yeah.
And again, also seeing his origin story, like how he's like really driven to get every strike, every attack right. Even when he's cutting down a tree or trying to kick down a tree with his own feet.
Oh yeah.
He's like, damn it, no, that's not exactly how I do it. I can do better. I just see him like to strive to be one step ahead of his, the criminals and the people he's going to be fighting against. He really has to prepare himself.
Yeah, the comic series. The comic series also puts Gordon in the light where he's a lot tougher than he. Well, I mean, he's always been kind of tough, but he kicks some ass in this movie. This comic.
No, yeah, exactly. That's another thing too. Gordon was a complete badass. That's the kind of interpretation that J.K. Simmons is going for when he's playing Commissioner Gordon for the Batman trilogy.
Yeah, is that shit over with? Is he going to continue, or are they done with him?
Oh no, that's going to continue. J.K. Simmons he's announced we're definitely still going with the trilogy. It's being written alongside the sequel of Justice League 2. But, like I said, if they keep Zack Snyder and definitely shake up, they're definitely shaking things up for sure. I mean, John Berg's, they made him step down as a producer. He's not going to have much of an influence. No. And neither is Zack Snyder. He's only going to be a producer in name only. They're not going to let him direct a movie. Which
I don't think he's in any position to do it anyway, so...
Oh, yeah. No, even Time Warner, who owns Warner Brothers, is like, why the fuck is Zack Snyder still there?
Yeah.
They're even questioning that. Also, as far as it goes for the direction that Batman wants to go in, I mean, Matt Reeves does want to keep it within the DCEU, but he wants to do it his way. He definitely wants to keep it along the lines of, a noir, detective-oriented kind of story, which is what, the animated series was, which is what the theme was of the animated series, which made it so great, one of the elements anyway. And I think we definitely need to see that in the Batman movies. Character representation really needs to be done right this time.
Yeah. Well, and I was a big fan of the detective comics. Batman's where all the big action stories took place, but detective was always the more intricate, brainy version. Not as popular.
Oh, yeah.
But it's time that the movie kind of focused on that.
Oh, no, this is what I hope they're doing. And I think that's also, one of the reasons why Ben Affleck kind of wants to exit. I'm like, what the hell? You could still be Frank Miller's Batman, but at the same time do some detective work. Frank Miller's Batman even did detective work too, dude. Chill. But I would love to see John Hamm as Batman for the replacement. My God, he would kick so much ass.
Yeah, it would be pretty awesome.
He does have that classic suave, smooth look to him. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why he was picked for Madman.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he was always a love interest for Kristen Wiig in Bridesmaids, which I thought was
absolutely... Are you sure he was a love interest? He seems to be the foil. It was Chris O'Dowd that was a love interest.
Yeah, no, of course, but he ended up just, fooling around with her. Just they were bed buddies. They were fuck buddies. Why am I saying PG shit?
I don't know.
But yeah, no. Yeah. But for reals, honestly, this is definitely like one of the most defining origin story, retold origin stories for Batman, and it was done perfectly in Batman Begins. Of course, that whole trilogy was like a mix-up of 5 stories. This one, of course, year 1 being one of those stories. Then it also borrowed elements from Long Halloween, Nightfall, and oh gosh, what were the other 2?
Speaking of, someone got me. I'm reading Nightfall for a future episode. I'm not too wild and crazy about this era of Batman.
Well, right, early '90s, I guess. Yeah, this is when, like '92 is when Bane was first introduced.
Yeah,
and it was
between Bane and No Man's Land is when it was really shitty. Like for like 5 or 6 years, it was just awful. And then No Man's Land came up, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm cool with this.
Mm-hmm. I will say this though, as far as like Detective Comics went in New 52, I thought that was pretty well done, especially with the whole Dollmaker segment for within like the first few issues.
Yeah, well, City of Owls.
That was trippy.
City of Owls and Court of Owls are great, and what's what I'm thinking of? Year Zero, I think that's what it is, or Earth One. No, Batman Earth One is great.
Oh, okay. I can't remember if I've read Earth One or not. My God.
It's really good. It's just a reinterpretation of it all, and the way they twist some of the villains is phenomenal.
Uh-huh. Okay. Good. I'll have to look into it. But anyway, that's pretty much all I could say about Batman Year One.
All right, well, let's move on to Flashpoint, a story that is confusing to me because I remember reading Flashpoint in the year 2000. It was a 3-issue miniseries, and if I remember correctly, it was about Barry Allen going back in time to stop Kennedy's assassination. I might be wrong about this, and he meets up with the old 60s version. It was crazy. But it was a really good series, and then all of a sudden there's another Flashpoint, and my head was kind of like, what? I guess we're going to erase the fact that there was a previous one? Okay, let's just go from here.
Yeah, no, it was definitely, oh gosh, like I said, the twists and turns and the character depiction is just so fucking twisted and dark, but it was just so great. Like, my God, I mean, of course, Barry Allen, of course, you see like this little montage, and you see, of course, when reading the book at first, you're seeing like all these, the little bubbles with all the narration and all that. We're not sure who's saying it. We're not sure what it's about, but like you definitely tell some shit happened just from reading it. And you're seeing, of course, all the wonderful artwork by, oh gosh,
Kubert.
Yes, that's it. You're seeing this wonderful artwork, and then as the story like unfolds, Barry all of a sudden wakes up, and what the hell, Citizen Cold, Justice League, where is everybody else?
Sorry, wait, have something to drink. Yeah, so you heard me. Yeah, Andy Kubert does the artwork. He's, well, of course, his dad, Joe Kubert's a phenomenon, but his kids are I think, even better.
Okay. Did not know that.
Adam and Andy, both phenomenal artists, and of course written by Jeff Jones, who's been guiding the DC universe for like 15 years now.
Yeah, Jeff Johns. He's a great writer, and he's done like some of DC's best work, well, at least within recent years for sure. Like Green Lantern, Blackest Night, Flashpoint, which is actually what the Flash movie is going to be about.
Yeah, okay, so, and I hope this is the last time we see this iteration, because there's the 2 comics, there is the animated movie, there is the live-action movie, and then, of course, the TV series keeps playing around with this story, and after that, I'm just done. Please stop doing that, and stop showing Batman's parents being killed. We know the origin. Just shut the hell up already and move on.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely not going to be doing Batman's origin. Everybody knows that, just like with Spider-Man's origin. That's why in Spider-Man Homecoming, we didn't get to see that. But with Flashpoint, as it does unfold, Barry realizes he doesn't have his powers. His mom's still alive, which is crazy because the whole point of Flash's origin was his mom dying, and his father was wrongly convicted of the murder, and he's in jail while Barry tries to clear his name, which is why he becomes a crime scene analyst.
Which, what's funny is I didn't know any of that, because my Flash was always Wally West. I barely knew Barry Allen. I just knew him from the Crisis series where he got killed, and it was always just kind of left to a mystery, and I didn't really care. I gotta tell you, until I read this, I didn't give a shit about Barry Allen. I just didn't. Wally was always my Flash.
That's how it was for me too, especially growing up. It'd always been like Wally West. Even in the Justice League animated series, it was Wally West and not Barry Allen. But after reading this, no, it definitely it put Barry Allen as my number 1 Flash. And I kid you not, the ending in particular, which we'll get to in a minute, was definitely definitely a choker. But as it goes along, he realizes, Batman's still around, but it's not Bruce Wayne. Nope. Mm-mm. It turns out to be his dad, dear old dad Thomas. because Flash, as he's like trying to uncover what happened, he realizes that something must have been interrupted in the time stream, which is why he doesn't have his powers. And then, of course, with Thomas's help, after getting his ass kicked by him and a few broken fingers, he ends up getting his powers back, and then they have to try and find Zoom or Thawne, the Reverse Flash, the one in yellow.
Yeah, and in the comic, he has a much more pivotal role. And he is in the movie, but he seems like he's really kept until the very end, which is kind of surprising. But I love the fact that he was voiced by C. Thomas Howell. If anybody knows who that is Ponyboy from Outsiders.
From the Outsiders. Yep.
Who's in the Punisher, by the way? I'm shocked he's in the Punisher.
Oh, yeah. No, what do you think of it so far?
I'm on episode 3, and I'm actually really, really happy with it. It's really focusing on the characters instead of the violence.
Oh, definitely. Oh, God, yes, I know. That's what we needed to focus on. I mean, we barely got a little glimpse of what he was in Daredevil Season 2. Now he's getting his own story.
The first movie does a good job of it, but it's kind of hokey and cheesy, and John Travolta sucks. The second one ditches any heart whatsoever, and it's just a gore fest. I mean, it's an exciting gore fest. It's a crazy movie, but it doesn't have any heart, so I don't give a shit.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, hell. I mean, look, Microchip was fucking killed. Wayne, goddamn night.
Yeah, that's wrong. By the way, I watched Kingsman 2 last night, and I gotta say, these, and this counts people, this is based on a comic book, so shut up. Mark Miller. Kingsman 2 is actually, I'm going to go against the tide here and say it's better than the first one. I really enjoyed it.
I know, I'll have to watch it when I get the chance. I mean, I did really enjoy the first one. Thought it was definitely a lot of fun. I had no idea that it was an actual graphic novel until after I've seen the movie.
Yeah, the second one has so much heart, and I was actually really surprised by it. It's a lot of the same stuff you see in the first one, which you love. These are the James Bond movies that the James Bond movies aren't anymore. Now they're so dead serious, and there's no gadgets, there's no wild and crazy fun. Mind you, I don't groan anymore because there's no shitty one-liners in Kingsman, whereas it was constantly like that in the James Bond. And I gotta say, he's in a committed relationship in Kingsman, whereas James Bond's is just like a horny little gigolo. Pretty much, yeah. No, he did not give a shit. And except at the end of Spectre. That's when it seemed like he was settling down. Yeah, there's a few, on Her Majesty's Secret Service, he gets married, but then she gets killed. At the end of Casino Royale, when she dies, he's devastated by that. But yeah, it's very little actual human emotions, which, is kind of meant. He's a killer. He's licensed to kill, so he's supposed to be disconnected. Kingsman is all about family. Of course, yes. They're pretty much all they have now, and they're brought into this little, group. And each one has a code name after, the Knights of King Arthur. Yeah, and then the second one, they go to America, and they're all named after alcoholic drinks. And it's got Channing Tatum. Yeah, he's great in it. He's not in a lot of it, but he's great. But it doesn't have Sofia Boutella. Seriously, the second one is just phenomenal. I was really surprised. And it didn't do as well as the first one, but it did huge money internationally. So they said they're going to wrap it up with the 3. And I don't think they should even wrap it up. I think they should do spin-offs. Do one called The Statesman. Do one, it can be more than just Eggsy. It's called The Kingsman, not the Eggsy story. So they can keep it going. Exactly. He may be a central character, but it can be about somebody else. Right. Sure. But anyway. But yeah, no, back to Flashpoint. My God, this Thomas Wayne Batman was pretty brutal and awesome. And I really hope that when they do this live action, I really hope they give it to Jeffrey Dean Morgan because he plays Thomas Wayne in Batman vs. Superman in the Batman flashback. It would be pretty awesome. I know. Plus, I think his start of playing dark characters was with the comedian from Watchmen. Yeah. And now he's playing Negan on Walking Dead, and everybody just loves that villain. They really want him to die, though. But see it, to have that dark element, that viciousness. He's perfect for it. It's like, come on, give it to him, Warner Brothers. Jesus, don't keep us on suspense. Don't fuck with us. I think it's funny that you're looking at. So the comic varies a little bit from the movie because the movie really streamlines stuff and cuts things out. But I did like the fact that now we're at this war between the Atlanteans and Amazonians. The Amazonians. And basically, you have the villains are now our heroes. Deathstroke's a hero. Warlord is a hero. Warlord was a good guy. I guess I shouldn't say that. But Citizen Cold. Citizen Cold, not Captain Cold. Yeah,
And
now they're going up. They get their asses handed to them because they can't take on this army. They're just guys with guns, or whatever goofy weapon. You got Wildcat.
even with Grifter and Resistance.
Grifter. Sorry, not Wildcat. Grifter. Yeah, I love Grifter.
He was a Wildcat.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's there. They're like putting up some kind of resistance against the Amazonians. But Cyborg, he's like the main superhero. He's the go-to superhero in this world, really.
Yeah.
And he better be a central. He better be a central focus in the Flashpoint movie as well. It not only needs Thomas Wayne Batman, but it also needs Cyborg as well. I mean, he has direct contact with the president. He has access to everything. He's also trying to assemble a team. He's trying to assemble, Shazam, the Enchantress, Hourman, all these other, kind of A-listers and B-listers. But he needs Batman's help because Batman's the best strategist on the planet to help, pull out, not unfold. God.
Yeah.
Not assemble. What the fuck is the word I'm looking for? What is wrong with me?
But I'll say this,
Enact.
it's going to be a lot cheaper for them to get Jeffrey Dean Morgan than Ben Affleck, especially since Ben's been so cold to the series lately. And
Right.
also, they already got Cyborg under a contract, and they can ditch Shazam. He's not really that important. It would be cool if they got Grifter in it, though, but I don't know if they'll even do that. I don't know how close it's going to be to the comic book. I bet you they're going to go off into a different direction. Which does bug me, because, when you read Captain America Civil War, that's a fantastic movie, but I was hoping it was going to be a little bit closer to the comic book, which they almost completely ignore.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's why I was a little underwhelmed with Civil War. I mean, again, I enjoyed it mainly because of Black Panther and the introduction of Spider-Man, mainly Black Panther. But again, they just kind of took away from what Civil War was really about from the actual comic book. But anyway, as it goes for Shazam, it's going to be coming out in 2019. And he's already been cast, so he'll already be set up, so people will have some familiarity with him. And you need a heavy tank to later on in the battle scene, big old battle scene when it finally happens. He's the one who takes on Wonder Woman at first.
Yeah.
And then But in the animated movie, they don't have Enchantress to separate the Shazam kids. No, they have. It's in the movie, it's Wonder Woman manages to get the lasso around his neck and forces him to say Shazam. It seemed a lot more dire and darker in the comic than it did in the movie.
Yeah, and then they're going to have to get Henry Cavill somehow. They're going to have to digitally alter his look. Or they're going to have to paste his face on a scrawny guy because, that's a big part of the story, too, is that Superman, since day one, has been kept in, like a cell.
He's in captivity, yeah.
Yeah.
A red planet powered cell, which is why he's emaciated. Like, straight up, like, that's what Christian Bale looked like when Machinist. My God. That's another central part of the story too. And again, Ezra Miller, he did a fantastic job in the Justice League. That's what a lot of people are praising over the film. Was the representation of Flash. Like, honestly, he's like the heart and soul of the Justice League. He's the heart and soul of that team. He's got the humor, he's got the wit, he's got the jokes, but he is there when he's needed most. He won't screw around too much. And in this particular story, like Barry Allen gets super serious. Like there's like no jokes, no puns, nothing.
No. And you said the ending, and that is, I actually started to tear up a little bit at the end. And spoilers, everybody. When he gets the letter from his father, you're just like, holy crap, Batman has a heart. What?
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of wish in the animated movie they at least had a voiceover for what the letter said. I mean, you find out what the letter said in the comic book because that's like the opening. Those are the opening captions, like the the caption bubbles that appear in the corner or in the center. And quite honestly, like fuck, I wish they kept that in the animated movie.
Yeah.
Because it would have gone great with the music score too. Like it really did pluck at your heartstrings. Oh.
Yeah.
Again, honestly, I really hope they do a great job with that in the Flashpoint and live action film.
Yeah, and those two stories are pretty mainstream. Of course, they've been adapted into live-action films and animated, or going to be. The one obscure one that we picked is actually one that we've been sitting on for a while. We've been sitting on so many stories for like years now. I think it was almost 3 years ago when I sent you Rawhide Kid, and we never discussed it.
Oh my God, really?
Ron Zimmerman's Rawhide Kid, which was like a comedic reboot of the old Marvel hero, which that's hilarious. I would say I highly recommend it. But if you're a homophobe, I would say don't read it. No, I'm kidding. Stop being a homophobe and get fucking used to it. It's a really great comic.
Oh no, it definitely is. I really got a kick out of it.
What's that
even I was like, Sean.
What's that one where the girl detective I sent you? I thought that was really great.
Oh shoot, is it? I think it's. Oh yeah, Kelly Green.
Kelly Green, yeah, that one's really obscure, but not too hard to find on eBay if you're looking for it. I think it was like 4 or 5 books. They're all independent, classic noir detective series, but from a really smart, tough female lead. So that's another one that we kind of left on the back burner. Well, we weren't really doing podcasts about comic books yet, though. We didn't start until a year later. But those are stories that were just kind of sitting in the back of my mind. So I suggest both of those. I'm sure there's tons of stuff I've sent you that you haven't got around to or we just forgot about.
Oh, yeah, no, there's quite a few that I haven't gotten around to. But I am making some progress, though.
Am I drowning you in comics? I'm sorry if I am.
Oh, no, trust me. You're not drowning me in comics. I've got, like I said, I might have to get some storage bins, though. Made
that, or if you don't want to keep them, you're not required to keep them. You can always pay it forward.
Oh, no, trust me. I'm definitely keeping them. Like, okay. I just have to get around to reading them. I remember I've gotten through I've gotten through a few stacks for sure.
What's shocking is, what is the population of Napa? 90,000? 100,000?
Yeah, I'd say like maybe 70 to 80,000.
There's not a single comic book shop. Like, you have to go like 3 towns over in order to get to a comic shop, which is mind-boggling. There is a town below ours called Albany, which is the one I went to today, and it's maybe 30,000 at best. 30,000. And they have 3 comic book stores, and the antique mall was filled with comic books. You're telling me that what is the culture of Napa? It's getting drunk and being rich and hoity-toity. The culture of Central Oregon is either strip clubs, drinking, or hey, go get bookstores. There's bookstores everywhere. Lots of gaming too. Lots of gaming.
Good to know.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, I know. I'm surprised too. Then again, it's Napa Valley. It's not something they want to focus on.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's so pretentious, dude. I don't know why. It's so boring there. You and my sister live there, and it's just like, I mean, I guess there's some stuff to do. At least you get concerts and comedy shows every once in a while. We don't get shit here.
That's true.
Here's the problem, is that Salem is the capital of Oregon. It is 45 minutes away from Portland. So all the big stuff goes to Portland. And then you go down about an hour to to Eugene, which is like the huge college town. And the rest of the rock shows and comedy shows go there. So nobody really comes to Salem. Mostly it's cover bands and C or D level comedians at best. What we do have is lots of homeless people. No. We have a lot of homeless people for some reason. But Salem has always been the butt joke when Portland, Portland's cool and it's weird and it's hip and everyone wants to live there. Well, guess what? It costs too damn much. It's a convoluted fuckhole of traffic. And sometimes it's full of itself. Right now, Portland is in the excess, cocaine, disco, Studio 54 days. Whereas Salem is now in this revival where they're cleaning up downtown. There's all these really cool little shops down there. And it's really well organized, streamlined, and it's pretty safe. And so right now we are the new wave. We're the punk rock that is coming up in 1977, and we're gonna kick your ass. We're gonna stop.
Okay.
Stop living in the armpit of Portland. We're gonna be cool. I think.
Good to know. All right, I'll choose Salem. I'll go to Portland first, and then save Salem for last.
Well, yeah, it's just like a 45-minute difference between the two. And if you're doing a whole trip, I gotta say, stop in Corvallis, stop in Eugene. Stop in Ashland, which is like nicknamed the Shakespeare Town because they have so many theaters. They have a Shakespeare festival there that goes for like a month. That's a really great hippie town.
Oh yeah, no, Ashland. Yeah, I remember it being there because the drama kids always went there to participate in the Shakespeare festival. My little sister, even participated in it when she was still in high school.
Nice. Yeah. Other than that, you got Astoria, which is where Goonies and Kindergarten Cop and Short Circuit were made, and that town's phenomenal. You got Bend out in the middle of nowhere, which is like paradise. But it is out in the middle of nowhere. It's a big city, fairly big, but it's isolated. That is like a painting, like a Thomas Kincaid painting without all the sappy bullshit.
Oh, okay, good. Oh, I love it. I'm already loving the idea of it.
Yeah, well, I definitely have to make. And they get concerts there. They got a big theater there where the Killers and Franz Ferdinand are playing. I was like, ah.
That's awesome.
Right?
That's pretty fucking awesome.
And they got a great comic book store there, too. I picked up some good stuff there.
All right. Now, that's definitely something to put on my list. Anyway, yeah. You know what I cannot wait to see in the Flashpoint movie?
What?
That little bit where Thawne does get killed, after he beats the crap out of Barry, and he's telling him, it's like, dude, and he reveals to him that it's all Barry's fault because he decided to go back in time and save Mommy Dearest. I'm like, yeah, that's what That's what you get for being selfish, Barry.
Sometimes Barry's his own worst villain. It's ridiculous. It's not really fun. It's himself.
Exactly, and I think this story showing that was like one of the best and biggest depictions of self-conflict with Barry.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there was a little bit of a cliffhanger when he's like trying to go back in time or trying to go to his mother before he, of course, fixes everything. He notices that voice within the Speed Force. He's like, "What the hell was that?" So that set up something else.
Yeah, well, I think it's Wally. If I remember correctly, I read something down the road where he brings Wally back out of the time stream.
Oh yeah, no, in Rebirth, Wally does come back.
That's right,
awesome.
Rebirth. I just read that about a couple months ago.
Yeah, no, and what I do hope to see that he gets to see his mother one last time before he goes back and fixes everything.
Yeah,
and then I do want to see, I don't know, I'm kind of like, in a bit of a struggle with how I want to see Thawne die. Do I want to see him get impaled with a sword by Thomas Wayne, or do I want to see him get shot in the head with his brain showing?
Oh boy.
I know, and then I love how like Thomas Wayne's like, yeah, try coming back from that. And he's like, it doesn't matter. He's going to be alive in a few hundred years anyway. But yeah, no, seeing him right there, he's like, give this to my son. And then just seeing Thomas Wayne just lead out. Oh, it was just awful.
Let's wrap up the episode of Long Shot. This is one that I kind of forgot because it was from a year ago or more.
Right.
I just kept sitting on the back burner, but you're gonna have to walk me through this one because I can't remember. Long Shot was kind of like his own character for a while, and then he got added to the X-Men. He was not technically a mutant because he was an alien.
Right, he was an altered alien.
Yeah.
He's only got. But I did notice that as I was reading it, I was like, wait a minute. He's only got three fingers and 2 index thumbs.
Huh.
But yeah, no, he was an altered. He's an altered human. As far as the design of his character, Ann Nocenti, who's the writer, she really wanted to make him and look, quite different, to have him stand out from the rest of Marvel characters, because no one's ever really designed a character like this. But Art Adams, well, he at least let him have the 3 fingers, but he also gave him a mullet.
The craziest mullet, man, that thing.
I know. Woo. Exactly. Well. He based it off of the rock star Lamal, who had that kind of mullet. And as far as the glowing eye, because the writer Anna Nocenti, she had a one-eyed cat, and whenever late at night, she'd always notice that glare coming from that one eye.
Huh.
And the thing about him is that his power, it's to sum it up, it's just luck. It's probability manipulation. Like, I don't know, it's it's just so funny. How he's just like, he just walk up.
He has mutant luck power kind of idea, it's but he also had those killer blades, those throwing knives.
Yes, he is an expert in hand-to-hand combatant and bladed weaponry and firearms, and he also has a healing factor and 2 hearts.
Huh. Yeah,
but
during the late 80s, he was a big part of it. Him and Dazzler are always hooked up, but I can't tell you that I've seen him since the 80s.
He was an X Factor from like 2008 to 2013.
Oh, really? I did not.
Yeah, until it ended. But honestly, as I'm reading this, like the humor and the setups and the way he talks, I'm like, this is definitely like Marvel Cinematic Universe material for sure. Like, that's all you need to do. You just need to put Long Shot on the screen, and that's it. And now that Disney owns, the X-Men rights, they should do something with him. They should put him in Netflix. They should give him his own Netflix show. Yeah. I would love to see that.
They cut his hair.
Of course,
I see it now, huh? They completely redid his hair. It's like shaved on the sides, and he pulled it back. He looks kind of stupid, but he always looked kind of stupid. His hair's goofy.
It's a fucking mullet.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it really is like very fun to watch. Like it's just so crazy how he just could not die for the longest time. And then of course, in his origin story, he was kind of with as it started, Ricochet Rita, who's like this stunt woman who was just enamored by him. He's handsome. He's got all these like luck powers. He's great for stunt work, which then did of course trigger some of his memories because he escaped from Mojo. He escaped from Mojo, who of course runs like a TV network which displays all these gladiatorial TV episodes. And that's why he didn't like being in the movies in the first place. That's why he was like, what the hell? No, movies are a terrible thing. People are fucking terrible. But again,
Mojo's a crazy villain, dude. He pops up every once in a while. I remember he popped up in Spider-Man for a little bit, and I thought that he's just one of those really bizarro villains.
Oh yeah, Longshot did actually start out as a 6-issue series, and Spider-Man did appear.
Well, that's what we're reading right now. That's the original miniseries, I think.
I know, that's what. Yeah, it is.
Okay.
I really like it. I mean, he was in the X-Men animated series. He did have an appearance in an episode, and again, it was very well done, on point with the character, especially after rereading this and then rewatching that episode. But again, in the TV episode, he definitely was a little more cocky and a little more confident.
Yeah.
This one, he's like, "What the fuck?" Like, okay, that works, but okay, I'll go with it.
Here's something interesting I'm reading right now. Mojo, the wires that hold his eyelids open, were inspired by an interview with Malcolm McDowell on Late Night with David Letterman, in which McDowell revealed the similar apparatus he had to wear for the Ludovico sequence. You know, the sequence where they're brainwashing him had scarred his corneas. That's fucked up.
Ow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't doubt that. That's exactly what it looks like. You know, with psychic, whenever they do some like intense psychiatric, treatments, they will do that to a patient, to try and, help them with some kind of whatever psychosis they're dealing with.
Yeah.
It's fucking barbaric. Oh, but again with this, I really hope I do want to see more of Longshot. Who knows? I mean, mentioning him in X Factor, I was like, oh, okay, well, shit. Hopefully, he makes an appearance in another Deadpool film.
Maybe, who knows? He would fit well with that character, that's for sure.
Oh fuck yes! But who do you think would play him? Oh my god, someone fresh, someone funny.
Yeah, someone we haven't seen before.
Yeah, someone, but who can actually act. That's what I mean. That's what I really hope for. I mean, so far, like, casting's been great in a lot of these movies, but sometimes you're just like, yeah, what the fuck? Like with Malin Ackerman in Watchmen. She didn't do it for me.
I really liked her. Well, I like her as an actress anyway. She's in one of my favorite movies called Final Girls.
Oh no, trust me, she is. I like her too, and like everything else, but she did not do it for me in Watchmen. I thought she overdid some lines, just wasn't enough into it. It was just very bland. Oh, but anyway, but like I said, who knows? If maybe if we do get another Deadpool movie, it still should be rated R. It cannot be. Deadpool's not PG person. It just doesn't work.
Sorry, I can't talk because I'm trying to fight off this cough, and it finally came out. Damn it.
Okay, good.
Sorry.
You're clear?
Yeah, I was just trying to keep it from coming on. I couldn't.
Hydrate.
Stop it.
Hydrate that shit.
Glug. Whiskey count? No.
Well, it could. It actually clears up your sinuses too.
Rum. I love rum.
So I love scotch. Scotch. Down it goes. Down into my belly. Yeah.
All right, I think we pretty much wrapped it up here. We're almost hit our hour. I'm exhausted. I'm sorry, guys. I shouldn't have done this, but I wanted to give you something.
Right. I think it worked out well.
Yeah, I'm glad you took over because I was kind of on the ropes for a while there. I was like,
again, he does. I mean, throughout the years, Longshot did appear within the Marvel universe. Encountered like people like Mephisto. Of course, Mojo was his main villain.
Fisto.
Yeah, Mephisto.
Fisto is a He-Man character with a rather large fist. Fisto.
Kit Fisto.
Have you been watching the Toys That Made Us on Netflix, the little miniseries about toys?
No, but I have to look that up. That does look very interesting.
They do Star Wars. The first one's Star Wars, the second one's Barbie, the third one is Masters of the Universe, and the fourth one is G.I. Joe.
Oh, Masters of the Universe definitely had to be on there. That was like one of the biggest toy lines ever.
I didn't even know that. I even collected them. I didn't know it was that popular. It was a phenomenon that, here's the weird thing, and you know what? I'm not going to reveal it. I'm going to let you find out because there's something that really surprised me around 85, 86.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll definitely look into it. Also,
Yeah.
who do you think should play Dazzler if they were to cast her?
God, I don't know anybody who's under 30 anymore. I'm old. I was trying to think of music lately, and I was like, I don't know who the fuck's in the top. I looked at the Entertainment Weekly top list, and I was like, I know like 3 of these people, but I don't know their music. I just know their names. Dazzler, she'd have to be young, like 20-ish. You know who I liked? There was a movie on Netflix called The Babysitter, which is from Mick G. It's a horror comedy. It's really great. The girl who starred in that would be, I think, good as Dazzler.
Hold on, let me look it up. Babysitter?
2017.
Okay, Babysitter 2017. All right.
And not
Going.
You remember when movies when we were kids would say like 2017 after it would be a futuristic movie? La Baby said 2017. The cyborgs have taken over. There are no more human babysitters. There's only robo babysitters.
Oh, there's Bella Thorne.
Well, she'd be okay, but no, it's where is it? I think it's
Samara Weaving.
No, that's a little girl. Where's the person who stars in this movie? Damn it, Samara Weaving. It's Samara Weaving. I think she'd be fun.
Oh yeah, no, she looks perfect. Wait, hold on. Is she Hugo Weaving's daughter?
Oh, I never thought of that. She is from Australia. Let's look that up.
Hold on, looking.
Niece.
Okay, jump to
Niece of Hugo Weaving.
Oh, okay.
Daughter of Simon Weaving, the legendary swordsman from beyond. Simon Weaving. I'm gonna miss this voice. You know that, right? I'm gonna miss this
baritone voice.
Yes, you're very needed. It's needed. Well, it's definitely needed up in the lineup because you're the only baritone.
Let me see if I can do some Barry White. My one, my only, my everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she appeared in an episode of Ash vs. Evil Dead. She played a girl named Heather.
Okay. Thanks for telling me that. No, I think she's got a lot of heat on her. She was in that shitty Monster Trucks movie, but I think that she could play. And I don't know what's going on with the Marvel movies now. Now that they've added the Fantastic Four and X-Men to their catalog, what happens from there? I just don't feel like the Fantastic Four is cool on cinema. In fact, the Fantastic Four has rarely been cool outside of the 70s and early 80s. You know what I mean? Just they were of their time. It's like Superman. Superman is not cool anymore. He's just kind of a boring, bland. Every once in a while you get a good comic or something out of it, but he's boring. He's not Batman. He's not the Flash, Green Lantern. There's something exciting about all those characters. They're just your meat and potatoes heroes.
Right. Well, I mean, as far as it goes for Superman, it's what he can do that is amazing. But as far as it goes with the DC cinematic movies universe, they haven't really gotten his character down. Like, honestly, he's very human. Like, he's grown up to be, very compassionate, very hopeful. Always saying that there's another way. He never resorts to killing. He tries to be better than, he's trying to show like humanity that you are better than what you are. You could be much better than you are right now.
Of course, we're better than everybody else. We're the greatest. My orange skin tells me this. Yes, we're better. And then
he was also
like, that's not what I meant.
He was also very he was also very humble.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was always like he'd always connect with kids and this and that. He was always compassionate. There was a lot of he was more human than human. But not a replicant.
Who knew that our country, well, a good chunk of our country, would say, hey, we prefer Lex Luthor. Fucking idiots.
Yeah, no, fuck you. Lex Luthor is a 1%er asshole.
Yeah.
Narcissist. Greedy.
I'm at a loss, man. I'm sick. I'm tired. I'm getting kind of grouchy. Sorry.
Right.
Fucking. I got a really good brain. I'm really smart. I'm a genius. Fucking douchebag.
I have a lot of money that I don't need. But I want to take over the world and destroy that alien because I want to prove that I can beat him, that I'm better.
Yeah, there's a weird racist thing right there. Illegal aliens, Superman.
I know.
We're talking about Superman, really?
Yeah, no. Hell, heck, even in Earth 23, when Superman was president and he was black, and Lex Luthor was like saying, "It's not because I'm a racist, because he's a fucking alien. That's why I hate him."
Right.
It's like, why should he get all the attention? But I've done so much for humanity, and I'm of the human race.
Obama.
Yeah,
he probably thinks Superman was born in Kenya. Like, no, I need to see his birth certificate. Can we see your tax records? Then shut the fuck up.
Yeah, no. Or what about all your little rape allegations, pal? There's a lot of that going on too.
Yeah, we're talking about comics, but we're also talking about something else, obviously. Duh.
It's very reflective of what goes on in life and society. So it's almost unavoidable. But overall, with Justice League, they definitely they're getting the character representation, better. So hopefully we get another Man of Steel sequel.
Can we get Billy Zane in as Lex Luthor? Billy Zane is clearly the best Lex Luthor out there right now. It's Kevin Spacey bullshit. This what's the other kid's name? Shit, from Social Network.
Jesse Eisenberg.
Eisenberg, that bullshit. Get Billy Zane. He's cheap. He's affordable. He's a great actor. He'd be the perfect Lex Luthor.
I know. Well, hopefully he will come back as like Lex Luthor Senior, because Eisenberg states he's Lex Luthor Junior.
Nice.
You know, he's like, my father's he said, you know, in Batman Begins, when he Batman vs Superman, after he makes that jump shot, he goes, oh yes, hey, no, my father's the Lex in front of the core. You know, this and that. So yeah, that was a clear reference that, you know, his dad's a senior. But anyway.
All right,
we'll just
gang.
have to wait.
I'm done. I'm beat, dude. I'm just beat. I got stop.
Okay, all right.
On the ropes.
I know. Remember to rest your throat. Give it a nice little rubbing. You know, use some Vicks.
Yeah.
And maybe.
Well, I think part of it is gotta stop giving blowjobs in the alley. You know, for comic books. You know,
oh, congestion. Oh, that's what it is. It's congestion. Yeah, no, you get get some like heavy duty nasal spray. That helps.
All right,
and no dairy.
We've come to the end of the road. God, I hate that. That song wouldn't go away when I was a kid. Good God. All right, Jacob, send us out.
All right, everybody. Namaste and good luck. And as Michael would always say, be excellent to each other. All right, ready to blast off. Let's go.
All right, everybody, check us out on Retro Rocket Entertainment for all of your episodes of Comics on Infinite Earths and our other shows. And I don't have any Retro Rocket sounds, so I'm just going to... Boo, boo. Actually, hold on. I'm going to pause.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
Well, that's a long time to wait.
4,
Let's just go.
3,
Go on, people.
2,
Fire.
1, fire.
Ah, damn it! I forgot my soda at the commissary.
All right, everybody, have a good night.
Internet, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the podcast known as Back in Tunes. Its 5-year mission is to explore every single piece of animation ever made and discuss it on this show. To boldly go where no other podcast has gone before. This is Back in Tunes with Jacob and Michael. Hey everybody, welcome to Back in Tunes. Jacob is sitting this episode out. I'm your host, Michael. That is because this episode we're going to do another perfect Saturday morning. And if you haven't listened to these episodes before, here's the concept. Imagine if you were in control of your own television station and you could program whatever piece of animation you wanted to, as long as it's like, you know, between like, minimum of 6, maximum of 10 shows, you know, that morning block of the perfect animated shows in your opinion. And this week, my guest is Patrick. How's it going, Patrick?
Good. How are you, Michael?
I am excellent. I am very glad to finally get this episode done. Sorry about all the delay. I get backed up on episodes sometimes.
It's no worry. I have been flip-flopping on my perfect Saturday morning for so long, so it allowed me time to perfect my game here.
Yeah, I actually cheated with mine. I was like, okay, so I can't skew it down to 10. I'm going to do like a pre-1980s, and then I'm going to do an episode later down the road where it's post-1980s. So I guess I cheated. Sorry.
Yeah, and then I listened to the last episode, and there was a few series that I wanted to do, so then I changed my mind, so I had to like change my game at last minute. So it's very, very intense to like create your own Saturday morning schedule. I feel like a network head right now.
Were you an early riser on Saturday mornings?
Oh, yeah, I definitely was. I was up at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. or whatever time they started, only because my mother would want me out of the house by 10 a.m.
Wow, yeah, I was always confused by kids who would sleep in. I was like, you didn't get up till 10. Do you have any idea how many hours of animation you missed?
Looking back, I honestly don't remember what time the cartoon started at, but it just seemed right around the time when the sun started popping up, so probably like 6, right?
Yeah, it would depend on your market too. I grew up in Indiana, so you have a lot of farm kids out there, so the cartoons would start at like 5. You know, they'd watch a couple of that before they had to head out to the farm, whereas it might be different in cities. I don't know. Did you grow up in a city or out in a rural area?
I grew up near Boston, so I had an excellent selection of cartoon channels to watch.
Okay. So let's start off your schedule with your first show. What time are you getting up?
All right, so I program from 6 to 11, because I said my mother usually wanted me out of the house by 10 o'clock, and I just decided to throw in an extra hour for like shits and giggles. So
The one day that
I
you get away
chose
with it.
yes. So I just like, I'm just gonna throw an extra hour in there, just because why the fuck not? So I'm gonna wake up. You don't want to wake up and just go right into some heavy action oriented shows. So I chose kind of like animated shorts for when I wake up. So I chose Tom and Jerry, the classic half-hour block. You know how they would always have like 3 or 4 episodes together for
it's
the
like your
syndicated
morning
packages.
Coffee. It's coffee for children. Those animated shorts because it's not a long-winded story. You got like 5 or 6 minutes. You're like, oh, my brain's starting to get going.
Yeah, you're like, I just woke up. I need some sugary cereal in my system. I don't know what the hell's going on. You just flip on your local channel and some form of Tom and Jerry's on. I always preferred the cat and mouse episodes, like the chase episodes, as opposed to like, like later on in the 70s, they had like the team up episodes.
Well, the cartoon's weird because I think in 1959 is when it ended with Hanna-Barbera being in control. And then it got weird with Gene Deet doing them over in Romania, I think, and then Chuck Jones hopped in for a while, and then in the 70s, like, it went straight to TV, and then, yeah, it got weird.
Yeah, like Filmation was in control at one point. There's like 6 or 7 different variations of who was in charge of Tom and Jerry. And I think, does Hanna-Barbera, they ultimately took control of it in the late 80s maybe, or 90s?
I think right before that movie came out is when they finally gained control again.
Oh, yeah, that was a shitty movie, too, because they were friends.
At some point, I need to watch this movie because we're going to discuss every piece of animation ever. And I'm like, that's really low on my list.
It's not that good. Because I was a huge Tom and Jerry fan growing up, and then I was bona fide for this movie, and then it came out, and they had voice actors in it, and it just does not work. Tom and Jerry just has to be done with an occasional voice, maybe, but there should be no dialogue.
Yeah. And it's funny, this Tom and Jerry is almost a product of its time because of the violence. And people forget that those animated shorts were not just made for children, they're made for everybody. And as the decades would go on, like, people would frown, oh, this is being aired to my 5-year-old, and they'd start cutting out the violence and the absurd humor, and it started getting more complex with, what is this show that they have now, Tom and Jerry Tales?
I think so, but at one point, was it Tom and Jerry Kids was the 90s edition of it?
That was awful. I forgot how terrible that was.
Yeah, I couldn't get into that one. That was a watered-down Tom and Jerry. They kind of like Flintstone Kids, Muppet Babies and it just... I think I watched it a few times, but I can't remember.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, you could probably watch 1 or 2 and you're good. There's no more, you don't need to watch it anymore.
But they're always saying that, like, you know what? Like, kids do not emulate the violence on there. I'm going to be a little sly here. I kind of actually used to, like, emulate the violence. So I had a younger brother who was, like, roughly the same age as me, and I would take, like, bug spray and, like, squirt it in his mouth and shit.
Oh, my
and then
God.
whenever my parents would be like, why would you do that? I'm like, I don't know, like Tom and Jerry, they're always, like, doing crazy shit, so why not do this stuff in real life?
Did he ever get you back for this?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I think he, like, hit me over the face with, like, a chair or something at one point in time.
Oh, my God. You're not, like, in crutches, are you? Like, completely
No.
With concussion?
I'm a stable adult now.
Okay. Well, this continued for 20 more years, and we're both completely broken like stuntmen.
Yeah. Well, like the 80s, early 90s was like a wild time to grow up because that was the last era when like parents would actually try to... It was right before parents tried to actually like be adults for children.
Yeah. Well, I remember there was a weird change around 88, 89, because when I was a little kid, we used to have these plastic guns that looked like real guns. I mean, they weren't smaller, they didn't have any red tips to show you, they looked like AK-47s, and they made the clicky-clicky sound. And we all looked at each other like later going, how are we not all dead?
Oh, I definitely had one of those. And then they put the orange tip on the end, but it was still all around it looked like an actual gun.
Yeah, which makes me think that maybe people who were, in the underground would like, hey, why don't we just paint our real guns with orange tips and the cops will be confused for a moment and then we could get away.
Well, if you lived in my neighborhood, we just spray painted black over the orange tip.
That makes sense. Yeah,
I don't know how I'm still alive after the 80s.
Yeah, it's like, 90s. I knew kids who are like, yeah, I jumped off the roof because I saw it in this thing. I'm like, you're not helping anybody's case here. Stop telling people this. All right, so what is after Tom and Jerry?
All right, so at 7:30 a.m., I chose the Wacky Races.
Oh, that is one of those excellent shows in the 70s where they would combine all these franchises. People say that Marvel is the first one to have this like universe, and I'm like, no, Hanna-Barbera is the first one to dive into that world.
And I mostly remember Dastardly and Muttley from this.
Definitely the most
series.
memorable characters.
So, I can't remember, was Wacky Races actually a show, or was it just a short that was interjected into other shows?
I'm pretty sure it was a regular show. It might have been part of the Scooby-Doo Laugh Olympics. I'm going to try to look that up right now. You can keep talking because it's going to take a while.
Alright, so I was so into Dastardly and Muttley winning the Wacky Races. I always just wanted them to win. Like, because they tried to like paint them as there was these like horrible villains, but all they really wanted to do was just win this goddamn race.
Yeah. This was inspired by the movie The Great Race from 1965, which is an excellent movie with Jack Lemmon. I think it was its own thing.
Yeah, and Captain Caveman was in the show too, from what I remember.
Look at the characters here. Dastardly and Muttley, the Slag Brothers, the Gruesome Twosome. I don't remember any of these names after Dastardly and Muttley. Okay, Penelope Pitstop. I can't talk. Penelope Pitstop.
Pitstop.
I know that character. The rest of them I don't. Rufus Roughcut, Peter Perfect. I got nothing here.
Well, the only two that matter are Dastardly and Muttley in this mess.
Yeah, I remember trying to do that little laugh that Muttley does, and then like almost always give myself give myself an asthmatic attack.
Do you know what's always great? What I always thought was hilarious about the Wacky Races is that, all right, so Dastardly and Muttley would always drive ahead. They're probably in the lead. They're way ahead. They're setting up these incredible Rube Goldberg-like traps to just shut down the rest of the races. Like, why don't they just keep driving? They could have easily won. Instead, we're gonna saw this bridge in half, or we're gonna lay out some dynamite, just some crazy scheme, just so they could guarantee the win. But they were always ahead of everybody else.
You know, I think I know why. Mike Maltese is one of the main writers on this show, and he is known for doing all those Wile E. Coyote cartoons, you know, and they're all about the traps and stuff like that. And another one of those where Wile E. Coyote just got in his own way. Yeah,
it kind of reminds you of like Home Alone if Kevin McAllister just fucked up all the traps.
It's like reverse whatsoever, and you hurt yourself.
Yeah, it's like reverse Home Alones. Like the wet bandits win every time. That's what the Wacky Races is.
That'd be a much darker movie. I'd actually watch that more often.
It should. There's probably like a fan fiction out there somewhere of reverse Home Alone.
Kid? He keeps hitting himself and over. Just don't focus on him. Let's just keep robbing this place.
Yeah, like he threw the paint cans down the stairwell, but like gravity just was opposite that day and it smacked him in the forehead.
All right, what do we have after Wacky Races?
All right, so now that I've had my cereal, I want to venture into superhero territory. So I know on the last episode of Back in Tunes you talked about X-Men and Batman, so I wanted to kind of sway a different way. So I went with the 1982 version of Incredible Hulk.
Nice.
And this was way before my time, so like a few years before my time. So I was probably like 1 year old when this actually came out. But I just kind of recently discovered this on YouTube, and it actually is a pretty decent show.
Yeah, it's pretty much the first cartoon I ever watched. I watched this and Amazing Spider-Man when I was around 3. And it got me into comics. My parents got me a subscription to Amazing Spider-Man and Incredible Hulk. Let's just say this. The Incredible Hulk comic book is way darker than the cartoon. And I was like 4 months, this is disturbing. I can't read this anymore.
So the episode that I recently watched, it was the origin of the Incredible Hulk, which it wasn't the first episode. It was like the third or fourth episode for some weird reason.
Yeah, that's odd.
And it's pretty intense. There's like an alien comes down to Earth. There's like teenagers in the desert that are about to get like pulverized by gamma rays. And the music in this series is amazing. It's like orchestral in a way.
Yeah, the Marvel guys had bought the animation studio from DePatie Freeling, I think around 1979, 1980, and they were really focused on high-quality animation, and, you know, they're responsible for pretty much all the action shows that we really loved during the 80s and early 90s. Incredible Hulk is probably still, until I think they end up selling the studio or shutting it down, is probably their best work, like, when it comes to quality.
Oh yeah, like, and it only lasted one season. There's like 12 or 13 episodes of this. This should have been like a 60 episode series right here.
Yeah, and back then though, animated shows didn't last very long. You could have a show last for 2 or 3 seasons at most, and that was like a huge hit. Whereas now it's like, what? 3 seasons? That's nothing.
Yeah, like in your memory though, you're thinking about this. And you're like, I thought that was on for a lot much longer than that.
Now, are you a comic book guy?
Yes, I am.
What is your favorite, like, main read and, like, nonstop throughout your life? What is the one that you always go to?
I always go back to Batman.
Yeah, mine's Batman or Spider-Man, and those are so
basically
consistent.
down. Yeah, it's basically down to those two.
Are you more of a DC guy than Marvel?
I kind of flip flop back and forth. I don't really like much of the post 2000 comic books. I just can't really get into them. So I love just to go back to the early days of things and just kind of like revisit everything.
You know, there's a spin-off of Back in Tunes called Comics on Infinite Earths that we do, where we go back and we rediscover like these old tales and discuss them on the show. I think you might be a good guest.
I am widely aware of that, and I would love to be a guest on that at some point in time.
It's funny, everybody I have on the show is very, very Marvel heavy, and I'm like, look, DC needs some love here. I love both equally. I love the rich history of DC Comics, even though they keep rebooting it every 5 years, and I love the depth of what Marvel can go to at times. So I'm just like, both of them's fine. I'm not like choosing one side.
Yeah, you're just kind of like a neutral party in this whole battle.
Yeah. So what do we have after the Incredible Hulk?
All right, so I wanted to kind of keep up with the superhero theme, so I went with Spider-Man and His Amazing Friend. And there's one reason why I went into this, because I really love the character of Iceman. I've always loved Iceman. I don't know why.
Me too. There was a time when I was reading X-Men heavily during college. My roommate, he had a ton of them during like the Age of Apocalypse storyline, and I just really got into the character. And I remember for some reason everybody's like talking about X-Men during this art class I was taking, and they're like, "Oh, my favorite one is Wolverine. Oh, Cyclops," and then whoever hot characters were at the time, and we're like, "Yeah, I'm good with Iceman." They all kind of looked at me like, "What? That third-rate, tired, old." I was like, "You haven't been reading it lately, because that dude is pretty awesome. He can freeze the blood in your brain and kill you instantly."
Plus, he makes those like ice slides or those ice chutes through the city, yes. And he just kind of like glides across them. I've always wondered. This has always like been on my mind. So he's kind of gliding through New York City, gliding on those like ice slides. Eventually, those are gonna melt, and those things are gonna collapse and just fall all over the place.
I know some people just walking through the park. What the hell is? Ah, my head! The insurance for the X-Men must be very high.
Yeah, like I grew up in the Northeast, so people are always dying from like icicles falling off buildings. They get like pierced in the head. So I just always wondered this, and like, how does like the gravity in this work? So like these ice sculptures are holding up. Like it's probably heavy.
Oh yeah, to hold him, it has to be pretty thick. How does the ice know to stop? That's what confuses me. Is it at a certain point it solidifies, he can get it to stop there, or why doesn't it keep going down further and further? Like, oh, the slide's not building anymore. I'm just going right to the ground. Shit.
And it's not collapsing on its own weight.
Yeah, it has to be really dense, and when it melts, yeah, it's gonna crush somebody's skull.
Like, it's probably not H2O. It's probably some mutant version of it that I guess can support his weight.
Yeah.
And not kill people that are underneath.
I wonder if Sunfire might be behind him going, "I got it, I'll melt all this, you're good, go ahead, I know no one likes me."
Yeah, it's like, what else am I good for? She's just kind of like strolling in the background, just kind of like melting on the ice.
It's funny that the series originally was supposed to be 3 guys, and then they decided at the last minute to add a female to the show, because they couldn't get the rights to Human Torch. I think they licensed it out or something. And
yeah.
And then that's why you have Firestar. I think she was created solely for the series. I'm pretty sure she wasn't part of the mythos of the comics yet.
Yeah, she was an original character for the series, and then I think they brought her into the comic books because I think she was like kind of popular, maybe.
Well, for a while she was in this comics called New Warriors, and she was fairly popular in that. And I haven't seen her in a long time.
No, but she'll be back. Don't worry, fret not.
Yeah, nostalgia brings all those characters back. Because they're like, oh, it's been 5 years, let's give them a reboot. And I'm like, all right, cool, I'm fine with that. Like, look at Moon Knight. There's a while that he just disappeared.
Oh, yeah, Firestar will definitely show up in one of those, like, Marvel movies in, like, 6 or 7 years when they run out of characters to bring up.
Yeah. Did he ever use the slide in the movies? Have you ever seen Iceman slide?
In the X-Men movies?
Yeah. Is he ever
I don't think so. I think all he did was just like make snowballs and shit, right?
A missed opportunity right there. I would love to see that on screen, see him fully solidified and riding on the ice.
Yeah, they never went that deep, which was pretty sad.
Yeah, I think it's whenever I watch the cartoon, I'm always annoyed by the cute characters. There's always like the sub character, like the dog in this cartoon that just drives me up the wall. It's like Orko in He-Man and stuff like that. Just like, you gotta have a cute character for little kids to like. Great, awesome.
Yeah, like He-Man could have gone to some pretty dark and deep places, but then they threw in Orko the Magician, and he's always just like fucking stuff up and just like accidentally getting into like a spaceship and like going back in time or something.
Yeah, it always drove me nuts of those characters. There's a character in Thundercats that's like him. I can't remember his name though.
I know who you're talking about though.
Is it Snarf?
Yeah, I think it's Snarf. Correct me if I'm wrong, Internet.
Oh, they will. They have corrected me so many times. Look, first, episode 215. I was like, all right, calm down. All right, what do we have after Amazing Spider-Man?
All right, so I kind of wanted to keep up with the superhero theme, but I also wanted to get back into humor. So I went with a show. It was originally a British series, but Nickelodeon era, it was Danger Mouse.
Oh, hell yeah. We were just talking about that last night. Danger Mouse and Count Duckula always paired together.
And, well, that's my next hour, because I thought they were the same show for so many years, and then I just recently remembered that they were two separate series.
Isn't that back? Danger Mouse is back on Netflix, I think, with new episodes.
Yes, it is. I have yet to see it, though.
Yeah,
I am
I have
sleeping
terrible
on
internet
that.
here, so I haven't been able to do any Netflix for about a year, and it's kind of torturous.
Oh, that is like... Are you in like a third world country?
I
Like, where are
almost
you?
am. I'm on the Oregon coast, and we all have to share the same internet at this park. And I'm like, you're kidding me. We can't have our own? Shit.
Are you in like the same neighborhood as the Goonies?
Not too far away, actually. Astoria is about an hour and a half up from us, and I've been there many times. It's quite nice. Goonies isn't the only thing shot there. A lot of people don't know this, but Short Circuit and Kindergarten Cop were also filmed there.
Which are also two classic American films that deserve to be immortalized in podcast form.
Yep, but Astoria doesn't care. They're only like all in with Goonies.
Well, because the Goonies is kind of like the golden ticket right there.
Yeah, it is the only one of the three that really still holds up.
You know what? It is kind of true, because Kindergarten Cop, it's okay, I guess.
Yeah, and Short Circuit's just cutesy. It's funny when you watch 80s movies and cartoons how different the world is. Like, in the movies, the kids were swearing, and on TV, there was tons of violence, and nobody had any real issues with it.
Oh, well, in Kindergarten Cop, that little kid is like climbing like an electric tower.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
There's no fences around it whatsoever.
Wow, that's crazy. Where were we? Oh, Danger Mouse.
Danger Mouse.
Yeah, that was a consistent watch on my part, just watching those two. And then after that, it was always like Banana Man and Star Trek, the animated series. But, I'd only catch those sporadically. But it was just hands down the best hours watching those two back to back.
Yeah, Danger Mouse is great because it was kind of like James Bond and Snake Plissken at the same time.
Yeah. Or Nick Fury a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit of Nick Fury too. And, I could never tell if it was like a serious show or a humor show, only because I was probably like 5 years old and I did not understand British humor whatsoever, and I pretty much still don't. But imagine being 5 years old and watching this on Nickelodeon and just trying to understand what's happening on the screen.
Well, the storyline, the way that the British animation is done is it's more focused on story than anything else. If the humor happens, it happens. The action happens, it happens. They focus on the plot way more than American animation does at that time.
Yeah, and there was episodes that it would be like complete darkness, like a black screen. You just see like eyeballs on the screen, and there was just dialogue going on, and you just be like, what the hell's going on? In the background, it'd always be like real places in London or wherever.
Yeah, it gave you a context for what the show... It was like its version of the Marvel Universe, where, how everything was set in New York. It was fantasy, but in a reality setting.
Yeah, it was so strange, which kind of... But it was always anthropomorphic animals instead of humans.
Yeah.
So it was a strange world.
Yeah, it's definitely an excellent watch, something that still holds up very well. Oddly enough, we've never covered on the show. We covered Count Duckula, I think, in the 4th episode, and we just kept pushing Danger Mouse off and pushing it off, and somehow I just forgot until this moment that we've never discussed it.
Oh, damn. Well, Count Duckula is my next choice. So I always thought they were the same show, but I guess Count Duckula was his own thing.
Yeah, I thought it was an hour-long show for a long time, too, that they were just connected, but different production companies just distributed to Nickelodeon back-to-back, and that one, I don't know if it's as well-remembered as Danger Mouse, but still very good cartoon.
Yeah, it was great, because it was like a vegan vampire. I don't even know how to... If I described the show to like a stranger on the street, they would probably think I was just a weird homeless person with a warped mind.
Do you remember Bunnicula at all?
That was a bunny Dracula, right?
Yeah,
if I'm right.
Drain the juice out of carrots. I always wondered when I was a kid. I was like, do Bunnicula and Duckula exist in the same universe?
It very well could be. So I guess the premise of Duckula was, I guess the vampires die and they are resurrected through some weird seance. And for whatever reason, they're supposed to inject blood into the body of the dead vampire, but someone injected ketchup into Duckula, and so he came back as a vegetarian.
I didn't remember that at all. That is a very funny idea. And ketchup obviously will bring him back to life. Sure, it's pumping through his blood system.
So there's like a Van Helsing character who does not believe this nonsense. So like, because Duckula is supposed to be the hero in this story. And now you have, like, the Van Helsing, who is usually the hero, but now he's the villain. So you get these, like, reversal roles going on right here.
Why do you think ducks are so popular in animation? Because it seems like there's a ton of them. When I went to say Duckula, I said, no, not Duckman, Darkwing Duck. No, not Darkwing Duck, damn it. Duckula. You know, I was like, I was thinking, though, there are a ton of duck characters, and I don't know what the fascination is with this one style of animal.
It's so funny because when I was putting together my first list of the perfect Saturday morning, it was so duck centric, and I was like, I gotta like switch this up because there's too many duck series in this.
We'll just call it a Duck Amuck episode. Just ducks everywhere. It's all about DuckTales and Launchpad McQuack and. Yeah,
there's too many ducks.
What do we have after Duckula?
All right, so I went with for the next hour, I went with like MTV animation. So the first one I went with, I don't know if you remember this, The Head. It was MTV Oddities.
I remember it, but I'd never seen it.
All right, so this is the strangest show in the world, but I loved it. It was only on for 2 seasons. So there was, I guess for like a couple of years, there was a show on MTV called MTV Oddities, and it was just all in like an animation block. So there was one series called The Head, and it was about this, I don't know, this like Gen X guy. He's just chilling one day, and this weird alien invasion happens. So now his head gets invaded by this purple alien. His head becomes gigantic in size.
The alien's in his head? It's residing in his skull?
Yeah, it's a weird kind of like a parasitic relationship. It's symbiotic. All right, so I think the good guys are symbiotic and the bad guys are parasitic. I think that was the whole thing. Weird. That was their whole theme. So the symbiote, it's kind of like, I'm thinking symbiotic, I'm thinking like Venom and Spider-Man right now. So okay. All right, so I think those are the good guys and the parasitic guys are the bad guys. So the main character of The Head, he has this purple alien living inside his head. He like just busts out every now and then, but he's like friends with like freak shows. So he's friends with like a guy that has like a lawnmower blade stuck in his head, and they're trying to save the world. And it's like a 6 or 7 episode miniseries that are all connected. So it's like one long series.
That is weird.
Which is pretty much ahead of its time for like an animated series, I guess.
Well, MTV was really trying to stretch the boundaries of animation in the early 90s. You know, they had Eon Flux and the Max. Of course, Beavis and Butthead not really stretching it so much in animation, but, you know, of course, you know, it's groundbreaking for the fact that it combined like 2 different styles of animation into one. What else do you have? You have the Brothers Grunt and stuff like that, and then MTV just kind of lost interest. Yeah,
they just gave up on this shit. I guess they just wanted to have some more like Road Rules Railroad challenges, I guess.
Yeah, I do know that they did a really good Spider-Man series around 2002 or 3, where it was 3D, but then it was flattened, so it had a very stylized look. It only lasted like, I think, 2 seasons, but it was really good. But after that, MTV was just like, we're out.
Yeah, it was right after the first Spider-Man movie came out, I think. Neil Patrick Harris was the voice of Peter Parker / Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And it was really good. It just didn't work for whatever reason.
But that's more mainstream. It's unlike what they were trying to do with Liquid Television. I think is the birth of their foray into animation, and then the Oddities was the second thing that they did. And I don't know why they stopped trying to be interesting. That's the problem with a lot of cable stations that start getting really popular, is that they stop trying to do innovative, unique ideas. They're just like, well, we need to put more in our stock. You know, the investors want more out of it, so we got to find more mainstream shows and spin off whatever is successful. That's why there's so many different versions of Road Rules and Real World. Disgusting.
Well, what happened was they invented Carson Daly, the Frankenstein robot.
Forgot about TRL, destroyed everything.
And that just ruined like the entire MTV generation. So after The Head, I chose Daria, which
Nice.
I never watched it when it was actually on, but I just recently discovered it.
Yeah, me too. I was thinking about doing it on the show, and I picked up the first season, and I was like, holy crap, this is really good. This is way different than Beavis and Butthead. I mean, it was a spinoff, but nothing like whatsoever.
Yeah, I liked the way that she was just kind of this like unpopular girl, but she kind of like traversed the world of popularity. Like she would go to like cool parties and stuff, and she was just involved in so much.
It's funny that people thought Janine Garofalo, they were convinced that Janine Garofalo voiced that character for years. And no, it's not her at all.
You mean she didn't?
Mind blown.
But yeah, I don't know, like I loved Beavis and Butthead obviously, but I chose Daria over Beavis and Butthead because it was just kind of you got the inner workings of high school. Plus I'm in like the 10:30 hour now, so we're getting closer to the Saved by the Bell hour, which is beyond my territory because my mother would already like shoot me out of the house at this point. And I just wanted to see those live action teen shows so bad, but
Yeah.
I was like my mother would never let me be in the house after 10 a.m. for some reason, especially on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, I watched them. I watched it. I would watch TV until about noon. And depending on my age, would I watch baseball for the next 2 hours or would I go outside? And no, you didn't miss anything. Those shows are just god awful. And Daria, definitely the right direction because that is infinitely better than Beavis and Butthead in my opinion. And it might be even better than King of the Hill.
Oh yeah, like there's so much social commentary going on, Daria. It's unbelievable.
And it holds
like
up so well.
Yeah, it holds up so well. Like the characters kind of look like 90s tropes, but let's get real. Those people, there's people that are still that way. Yeah.
All this changes the what they're wearing. It's just still the same cliches, the little cliques and the stupid behavior. It's all the same for every generation, just different hairstyles. Yeah,
they threw in music at that time in there. It was just great. Such a great show. And it was on for a while, wasn't it?
I think 3.5 seasons. I don't know if it went beyond that. I'm pretty sure it only lasted 3.5 years.
And they did like TV movies and stuff too.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. I haven't seen the TV movie. Is it Fall Yet, I think is the name of the Daria movie?
Yeah, and they did a college one too. I think they did 2 TV movies. There was a fall one, because I think it was senior year maybe. We had to get like a senior year rage episode, and then let them graduate high school, and then let's come back for college and just see like everyone ends up.
Now, have you ever seen Mission Hill?
It sounds familiar, but if you go on, it might spark a memory.
The animation style is almost the exact same. I'm wondering if it's the same art director. It's from Josh Weinstein, who's one of the original Mystery Science Theater hosts. They made it for the WB. It's about 2 brothers, one who is like in his mid-20s, who works for an office. He kind of does the city life, and his little brother, who for the summer has decided instead of staying in his hometown, that he's going to come to the city and live with his brother, and their relationship balance is really amusing. Because he's really high-strung and, out of his element, and, the brother is just a little too lazy and laid back for his world, and it's a really excellent show. It only lasted 13 episodes, but its spirit and its look is very similar to Daria.
I don't think I know that, but I think the only reason I familiarize myself on Mission Hill because that is just a dangerous neighborhood of Boston that you don't want to go to.
For some reason I thought it was set in San Francisco. I didn't know that. I've never been to Boston, and I'm starting to realize that I know a lot of people who live in Boston, so maybe I feel like I should visit one day.
Well, I'm sure there's more than one Mission Hill in the world, but when I think of Mission Hill, I just think of bad memories of just like, am I going to survive walking to my car right now?
It's not a sketchy neighborhood. It's like a stabby neighborhood. I might die
here. Yeah. All right, so
what do we have next?
We're down to my last hour.
The last one, no.
All right, so I wanted to stick to my duck theme, so I went with the obvious choice, DuckTales.
Is it amazing that Scrooge McDuck was able to dive into that pool of coins, considering if we did it in real life, that every bone would be shattered?
Oh, there'd be a lot of level 1 trauma going on right now. If that
coins
happened.
In my brain!
So the guy who the voice of Scrooge McDuck was Alan Young, who also was Wilbur on Misread, who just recently died. I just found this out yesterday.
Yeah, I had no idea he was still alive. I thought he died a long time ago.
Yeah, he was like 182 when he died.
God. He had horse sense. That's what kept him alive.
Yeah, there he goes. That could be it.
I shouldn't have said that. That was bad. That was poor.
That's okay. We don't judge on the internet.
Oh, yes, you do. That's what the internet's all about, is judging without any,
it was
responsibility.
A joke.
You can't see my face. We're okay.
DuckTales was great because it was like the start of Disney TV animation era. Mm-hmm. So Disney was always famous for their amazing movies, but I guess they wanted to like take a stab at television. So DuckTales was kind of like the first real popular foray into their like afternoon/Saturday mornings. So like because of DuckTales, we got like Tailspin, Rescue Rangers, Darkwing Duck. Am I missing anything else?
Bonkers.
Quack Pack. Yeah, Bonkers.
But yeah, this is a lot of people don't realize, if you didn't live during the 80s, if you're a kid of the 90s, you don't realize how bad animation was around 85, 86. All you basically had was like the action toy-oriented stuff, like G.I. Joe and Transformers, which, mind you, is they're good shows, but the animation was from overseas, and it had a very particular look that wasn't the same as American. And in America, we had Filmation and Hanna-Barbera just phoning it in, Ruby Spears phoning it in. And all of a sudden, Disney comes out with Gummy Bears as a test to see if high-quality animation can exist on television. And it was a decent hit, but it wasn't, like you said, until DuckTales came out. In syndication, they reaped huge amount of syndication money. And that's what launched, like, started all over again. Everybody started going back to classic style animation, high quality stuff instead of stilted and just a moving mouth. Yeah, and do you remember the DuckTales Nintendo game? Yeah, I heard they got re-released in HD, but I haven't played it. Oh, it's so great. All I can think of is just the moon level, like hashtag moon level right now. Well, it's cool the theme. Disney focused hard on making their licensed games of quality, whereas everybody else was just like, let's get the name, it's going to cost us most of our budget, and make a shitty game. Back to the Future, anybody? One of the worst LJN games ever? Oh yeah, there was a Who Framed Roger Rabbit game that sucked. Basically anything that was like a movie license was just awful. Yeah, Dick Tracy's so frustrating. Yeah, I think there's like a Total Recall game too, I think, for some reason. Awful. Darkman, awful. All these games are terrible. Gremlins 2, not that bad, but, it's the Disney ones, and then Lucasfilm started focusing. I think Lucasfilm saw what Disney was doing with their games and followed their trend, except made them crazy hard, just insanely hard. Oh yeah, those Star Wars games from the early 90s, I've never made it past the first level. Oh, it's so insanely hard. Yeah, but DuckTales and Rescue Rangers, both excellent Nintendo games. Yeah, they're great. I think DuckTales was the very first video game I've ever finished. Really? Like, all the way through, yeah. I sucked at Mario Brothers. Yeah, I have a short attention span, but I finished the first two Mario Brothers. I don't know if I ever finished the third one. I can't remember. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I finished Rescue Rangers, but I never finished DuckTales. Yeah, DuckTales is a great game. You get the moon theme. My favorite, it could be like my favorite song of all time. You have to, like, YouTube the moon theme from DuckTales. I'm going to look that up right now. It'll make you happy. I should end the episode with that. You should. What is the next thing on your schedule? Is it the final one? All right, so yeah, this is my last half hour. This is all I programmed for. If I can keep going, I probably could. We all. So I went with. If you're an animation fan, there's no way you could really stop yourself. Yeah, so I guess you got to go outside at some point in time and like ride your bike and shit. So I went with Garfield and Friends. Excellent choice. Not a lot of people talk about that episode. In fact, that is one of our least successful episodes. We talked about Heathcliff and the Garfield show, and the audience just said, no, we're not going to download this episode. Right. So Garfield and Friends is great because they take elements from the comic strip. They would do those quickies, and then they would also do, like, shorts, and then they would throw in the U.S. Acres stories as well. U.S. Acres. Hardly anybody remembers that. So it's so great. And then I also love... Sometimes they would like incorporate parts of the holiday specials as well. I don't remember into the series. Like in the final season of Garfield and Friends, they got pushed to like a full hour. So you can watch like a half hour of Garfield and Friends, and then after that it would be like the Halloween episode
which was the scariest fucking cartoon of all
God,
time.
those pirates still to this day make me nervous.
And that old guy, the old guy who's like telling the story of the pirates.
I had so many Garfield books when I was a kid. I even had the specials that were based on the animated shorts. I had the Hawaiian one and the Halloween one. Consistent reads, but that Halloween one to this day still haunts me.
Oh yeah, I still watch that. Like, it's so joyful, it's so fun. They're like going out trick-or-treating, having a fucking ball of a time. And then Garfield just convinces Odie they have to go on a boat and like cross a river for some reason. Like this crazy river, and they go to like an island, and this just 300-year-old man is just like telling stories about pirate ghosts that are like after treasure. I can't go to sleep at night still to this day because of that episode.
I watch it pretty much every Halloween, and I always get like kind of like, okay, here come the pirates, okay, calm down.
All right, so when Garfield and Odie, they're in that like that bureau, and then the ghost comes through the bureau. Oh,
yeah, that's the part right there.
That is like still a trigger point of nightmares for me to this day.
I think we're grown-ups, so that scene still makes us nervous. But yeah, the cartoon itself was, I think, the first one to really capture the spirit of the comic strip. There was Snoopy and Friends, or was it Charlie Brown and Snoopy show, I think, around the same time. It did a really good job. It's an excellent show, but nothing felt just like the strips, the way Garfield did.
No, but what I loved about Garfield and Friends, they actually animated actual comic strips of Garfield.
Yeah, they would grab the Sunday one because, it was the 8 panels, and it would be enough for, 30 seconds of animation. And I was like, oh my God, I have that. It's in my book right now. Yeah,
you would run back to your bookshelf and try to find it because you have, 80,000 Garfield books. Those, half books, too. They were, half in size.
Yeah.
And they were, rectangular shaped, right? Those
Garfield,
ones?
They didn't do a whole lot of Garfields like that. A lot of the other ones would do it. Heathcliff and Snoopy, they would have those, $1.50 sitting on the stands with the books back in the day. Garfield, I think, only did it a couple times, and then they focused solely on the longer ones. That was set out to look just like the Sunday panel.
Yeah, that was so great.
I actually got some not that long ago, and it's still pretty consistent. The art has changed dramatically. I don't know if someone else is drawing it and Jim Davis is just writing it, but still pretty solid read.
But yeah, Jim Davis is just chilling in a nursing home right now.
I've been to
just
his museum.
Collecting those dollar bills. He has a museum?
Yeah, he's from Fairmount, Indiana, the same place where the James Dean Museum is, because that's where James Dean grew up. But in that town, they have his original house before he got the big money. They have his house there, and they show the studio where he used to draw at, and they have all the stuff throughout the house, all the original merchandising and stuff like that. It's really fantastic, though it pales in comparison to the Charlie Brown Museum in California, which is jaw-dropping.
I didn't even know there was a Charlie Brown Museum. I need to hear about this.
It's epic. Okay, so Charlie Brown Museum, it's basically a couple acre. That's how big this place is. So the first part is a huge 2-story building filled with all sorts of artwork. It has a theater in it. It's 30 seats, and you get to watch the animated shorts that I think most of them are still not available. They've never put them on disc or video on demand. You get to see them there. Then you go over to the next building, and it's the gift shop. 2-story gift shop with tons of memorabilia on the walls. And then there's another building where it's a hockey rink, because Charles Schultz wanted to make sure that kids that were poor were able to go to this skating rink and learn what it's like, just experience skating. So the community pays for it. And there's a restaurant there and a little snack bar. And there's another building. It's huge. It's a whole day.
That's intense. That's way too intense for me right now.
Yeah, I gotta show you. It's in Santa Rosa, California, and it's one of the most beautiful cities that no one really talks about. But that's where the museum is.
Shout out to Santa Rosa.
Yeah. The community really got together and made sure that it was this high quality tourist attraction, but also that money goes back to the community to help poor kids, and more just the ice skating. They pay for hockey games and stuff like that.
Well, we love hockey, right?
Yeah, well, I think most places won't do skating rinks or hockey because the insurance is so high. Because I used to remember they were in every mall, and then the cost was just too much. They'd shut it down so these kids don't get to experience it.
Oh yeah, because there was. So they used to have, in the town I grew up in, they would have these, open rinks where you can, kind of skate around. Mm-hmm. But this kid fell down one time, and he wasn't wearing gloves, and someone skated over his hand.
Holy
and
shit!
That was the end of like those open ring nights.
Holy crap! Did his fingers get cut off?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
This is so. I was just a child when this happened.
Holy.
But all I know is there was no more like open ring nights after
Yeah.
that.
Well, that is going to replace the Garfield nightmare for a couple weeks.
Yes.
I can't remember.
Sorry to end on such.
What was a huge segue? Garfield.
Yeah, sorry to end on such a morbid note.
Yeah, definitely. Garfield and Friends. I don't think it's on disc, but YouTube has plenty of episodes. That's a nice part about YouTube. A lot of people like condemn it for being like, oh, you're just stealing people's property, and well, there's no profit in it. If it's these cartoons they're not going to make available to people, people are basically being historians and archiving it for us to view.
Yeah, and I believe Garfield and Friends is available on Hulu.
Oh, is it?
I think so, because I feel like I've recently watched an episode, but it could have just been a daydream.
It's still fond memories of it just sticks in your brain. Yeah, U.S. Acres is definitely the one that's kind of an oddity because most people don't seem to remember it, but I read it just as much as Garfield. It just lasted 4 or 5 years. Yeah,
it was so great. So, like, you had the character Sheldon, who was, like, an egg with legs.
Yeah, who was the crazy chicken? The one that was kind of a jerk.
Yeah, there was, like, a jerky chicken. There was Orson the pig?
Yes.
All right, so there was, like, Orson the pig. It was just so great, and I just wish it caught on.
Yeah, well,
but it never did.
I think he was just overworked, like too much on his plate, and he just gave up on it because it wasn't selling as well as Garfield. What he should have done is just like hired somebody else to take over.
Yeah, but they could have just like repeated Garfield, and no one would have ever known.
Probably not, because it's basically the same stories over and over.
Yeah, it's like Garfield wakes up. It's fucking Monday.
Kick Odie.
Goes back to bed. Kick Odie.
Eat a lasagna. Fight normal.
Yeah. It's fucking Halloween. Like. It was like a repetitive thing, but like U.S. Acres was pretty fun. Like I wish it was more popular than it was not. So
yeah, it had more of a world, a universe that Garfield didn't really inhabit, and a bigger cast. And you know what? Maybe when Jim Davis passes on, I can license the rights to get someone to remake it.
Yeah,
because I can't draw for shit.
Jim Davis is. Yeah, I can't draw for shit either. Because I would probably draw. Like an orange, like blur, and like, is that Garfield or lasagna? I can't tell.
Or did I sneeze on the piece of paper? I cannot remember. Did I have Dorito fingers while reading this?
Who knows?
All right, so that brings us to the end of our perfect Saturday morning. And kids, as much as it's fun to talk about cartoons, you should get outside sometime, go ride a bike, enjoy the world. There's stuff out there that's going to kill you. I mean, whoops.
Solve a mystery or something.
Yeah, be like the 3 investigators. Go out there and solve a mystery that might get you killed.
Yeah. It's all in good fun.
All right, is there anything you want to pitch? I don't know. I actually don't know you that well. I don't know what you do for a living.
I work in the ER. Don't die on me.
Okay, there we go. That's your pitch.
Right.
Thank you very much for joining me for this episode. I'm never sure about people that I've never actually spoken to. Like, we've talked a little bit on Facebook, but I'm like, I don't know what this person's like. This worked out very well.
Was I, as long as it was not horrible, I've, like, practiced this for at least 3 hours, so I'm sure I did an okay job.
Well, you're more coherent than me. I get on these long-winded things sometimes, and I forget where I was going. And you didn't say the F-bomb nonstop. I mean, I'm not a prude. And originally we let's make this a PG show, but then we forget that it's not how people really talk. But then I'll have a guest every once in a while that's like F and F and F and F, and it's like white noise. You're like, oh my god. I guess that brings us to the end of this episode. Check us out on Facebook under Back in Tunes, and we're going to continue this trend of the perfect Saturday morning. So if you want to be a guest on the show and you have your schedule ready, totally send a request to the page or send one to me, Michael, and we will have you on the show. And Patrick, you want to send us out?
Have a fucking great weekend.
All right, and let's hear that DuckTales Moon theme.